Chapter 2101. Even though Chen Shang had condensed the double bone level once again, he was still a bit depressed, because the bones was already in his eyes. He did not know if it was a good thing or bad thing, but what he was sure of was that while the bones was in his eyes, it temporarily could not form a strong power. If the bones was on the legs, he could directly attack during battle. But in the eyes, one couldn't use one's face to attack during battle, right? Chen Shang, you don't have to be depressed, it's a good thing that your bones has congealed in the eye. This is a very special part, not everyone's bones can grow in this place. Yue said. Although the location of the double bone level that you just condensed cannot be attacked directly, it still has other uses. Try it yourself and see if the double bone level on your left arm can be used in contact with your eyes. He immediately nodded his head. Now that he knew what to do, he tried to create a stronger connection between the bones of these two parts of his body. He wanted to see if it could affect each other, so that the power of the bones and divine soul could be shared. My eyes are hurting. Chen Shang tried to absorb the bones on his left arm, but when the power of the soul came over, it caused his eyes to burn, and he had no choice but to give up. How exactly do I use it? Chen Shang was depressed to the extreme, the bones that he had spent so much effort to cultivate was actually useless. The eyes are the window to the soul of a living being. In many cases, it is possible to see what the heart of a living being is thinking through the eyes. It is also through the eyes that one can obtain the most direct information. Yue suddenly said. Bones can normally cause the body to produce a very strong power, but if it appears in a special place, it will have a special use, and cannot be equipped with common sense. Yue saw that Chen Shang was deep in thought, and continued to speak. I feel that the bones that is condensed in your eyes is able to produce special powers in your eyes. Since your eyes already possess the bones, there is definitely nothing good about it. Quote. When Chen Shang heard this, he started to quietly ponder. A light suddenly flashed through his mind, and he said, the essence of the bones is to stimulate the strength of the body, then if the bones appears in my eyes, then logically speaking, it should be able to unleash a power that is stronger than my eyes. What kind of power does an eye usually have? The first one will definitely be there to see. With your bones, you will definitely be able to see further, and maybe even more things, that's for sure. Try it, Yue said. When you try, don't even think about condensing a violent power. Otherwise, your eyes will hurt. I can only try it outside. What can I see here? Chen Shang brought Yue and walked out of the time formation, and stood at the edge of the passage. He looked into the depths of the earth, where a thick layer of red mist enveloped him. What did you see? Yue was also watching, but she could not see anything. The fiery red fog that was being released from the earth's core was too thick, and it also had the power to incinerate people's mental energy. Sure enough, I saw something that I couldn't see before. What exactly is it? Chen Shang frowned. I saw a huge pond below, it's just that it's filled with flame essence, there's something inside that's boiling over, could it be the earthly beast that you were talking about? What does it look like? Yue hurriedly asked. I can't see clearly. That fellow in the terrifying fire liquid is like a fish in water. His body is a fiery red color, but I can't see anything else. His movements are too fast. Chen Shang said. At this time he had already felt the benefit of condensing bones. If it was before, he would not have been able to see the bottom part of the flame essence. What is that thing? Chen Shang saw a flashing red dot on the stone wall in the depths of the cave. He controlled the bones in his eyes to strengthen his vision and quickly saw that thing. It's a fruit. It looks like a tomato, glowing red and trembling. Chen Shang said. Is there anything else around this fruit? How did it grow? Yue hurriedly asked with a hint of surprise in her voice. She seemed to know what kind of fruit this was. It looks like it grew from a rock wall. Let me take a look. Chen Shang rubbed his eyes. This was the first time he had used the power of the bones in his eyes to increase his eyesight, causing him to feel a little tired. As I thought, this is the unique earthly beast fruit of the core. Yue was extremely excited. You must obtain this fruit. You said that the fruit is trembling, right? It should have already matured, and is waiting for it to fall down to feed that earthly beast. Isn't this equivalent to snatching food from earthly beast? I am currently in his territory, is this place in danger? Chen Shang also wanted the earthly beast fruit. The earthly beast is still weak right now. Otherwise, it would have left the core of the earth and jumped up to eat it. So you don't have to worry about him running up here. Furthermore, after that fruit is picked, it will quickly grow back. This is specially bred by the core and given to earthly beast to eat. Uaa replied, my grandfather used to do this kind of thing as if his life depended on it. There was no need to be afraid. Chen Shang took a deep breath and said, all right, it will definitely be very hot when we go down. Can your spatial barrier hold up? There's no problem at all. Hurry up and go down. Uaa said, the fruit will soon fall, and there will be no more chances. We can't miss this chance. Chen Shang immediately jumped down and carefully floated in the air. Currently, the danger in this place was only too great, and the earthly beast in the fire liquid could not leave the fire liquid. Strange, how many earthly beasts are there? Chen Shang asked. I should have seen more than one. These earthly beasts should not have formed yet, they are still growing. So, it's normal to have many heads. If the earthly beast fruit falls down, it will definitely cause a lot of competition, and the person who obtains the earthly beast fruit will become even stronger. Uaa said, the core is an extremely mysterious existence. My grandfather said before that the most terrifying thing in the core is the Earth's core divine spirit, the person who controls the core. If he gets angry, he can instantly destroy the entire world. Chen Shang was shocked in his heart. There's actually such a thing. Is that true? Has your grandfather seen it before? Quote. Chapter 2102. Chen Shang had thought that a long time ago, the 9 divine kings should have been able to control this 9-heaven world, but he found out later on that the 9-heaven world was so powerful that even the 9 divine kings couldn't estimate it. In the future, after swallowing the super god realm, the divine nations would definitely occupy and control an entire region. Now, Yu said that there was some kind of terrifying Earth's core divine spirit in this Earth's core. If this was the case, he definitely wouldn't be able to stay on the ground at ease. Don't be afraid, Earth's core divine spirit is only a legend in the Star Law divine realm. No one has ever seen it. But the core definitely has a certain amount of spirituality. Otherwise, it would not have nurtured a divine fruit to nurture the divine guardian beast in the core. Uaa said, even the strong core would have a terrifying earthly beast, to prevent others from having impure motives towards the core, such as controlling the core or using the core to cause destruction. Chen Shang had already reached the side of the earthly beast fruit. When his hand got hold of it, he immediately picked it down, and it was actually extremely cold. Furthermore, it was extremely stiff and heavy. There's one more over there. Chen Shang had just put away the fruit, and he also saw the red light flashing in front of him. Previously, he stood at a high place, so he could not directly see the fruit on the wall at his side. Furthermore, the fruit was embedded in the cave wall, and the red light it emitted wasn't that bright either. It should have matured by now. Chen Shang immediately flew over. Since he had seen it, he would definitely take it off. The divine beast swimming in the lava below started to howl, because Chen Shang had also taken the other fruit. Goodbye, it will be back soon anyway. You can have it next time. Chen Shang laughed and quickly went up. Not long after, he returned to the cave, and the roars below became louder, as if he was angry at the same time. These earthly beasts are all very weak, otherwise they would have rushed up long ago. Uaa laughed. Actually, you don't have to be afraid of them even if you rush up. They can't even take human form right now, and their bodies are huge too. If you hide in this cave, they definitely won't be able to come in. This passage was rather narrow, and the stones were very rigid. It was not easy to break them. What's the use of these 2 fruits? Chen Shang pinched it hard, it was very strong, other than releasing a cold chi, he couldn't feel the energy in it at all. So this is divine deity and divine soul. As long as the earthly beast eats it, it can increase one's divine deity by 1 high quality. As long as it does not reach 100, after consuming it, it can increase one's divine deity by 1. Uaa replied, but only earthly beasts can do it, not humans or other beasts. Their effects will be greatly reduced. Chen Shang was instantly overjoyed, isn't this the same as the great divine deity? Others can't, I can. Quote. He was just worrying about not being able to cultivate to the 6th divine deity, and right now, it just so happened that he was able to immediately enter the time formation. Is that really possible? I heard from my grandfather that other than earthly beast, other people and beasts can only get 10% or less of their energy after eating it. Yu said. Sure, when Chen Shang had first fused with the great divine deity, he had used the method of refining pellets to refine it into his own divine sense C. Not only did he not lose any energy, he could even strengthen the divine deity. This divine deity should be reduced by at least 3 or 4 times. What makes me feel a little regretful is that these are all fire attribute divine deity S and divine soul S. Chen Shang chuckled, my divine sense C already has 2 fire attribute divine deity practitioners, adding the 2 here, I wonder how strong my flames will be. If it were not because the conditions did not allow it, he would definitely condense a spatial divine deity and a heavenly body's divine deity respectively. There's a chance in the future. Right now, you need attack power, so fusing with these 2 fire attribute divine deity is the best. UAA said. Moreover, you still have to properly tap into the power of the divine deity in your eyes. I feel that it's not as simple as just increasing your eyesight. The eyes are the window of a person's heart. I feel that you can directly use the eyes to attack another person's heart, which is equivalent to a powerful spiritual attack. This is very difficult to defend against. Quote. Chen Shang felt that this plan was very feasible, but the most important thing for him right now was to first condense 2 divine deity before deciding anything. At such a young age, I can start training inside the divine sense C. Chen Shang placed a fruit into the divine sense C and released the magic method furnace inside. Previously, when he was refining the great divine deity, because the great divine deity required a large amount of compression, he had to first use a pill furnace outside to refine it. Right now, the earthly beast fruit was relatively small and could be directly carried out in the divine sense C. It's pretty hard to refine. The stuff bred by the Earth's core is different, it's originally very resistant to heat. Chen Shang activated his 2 fire attribute divine deity and released the strongest flames, otherwise, he would not be able to refine the earthly beast fruit. The earthly beast fruit was extremely hard to smelt, so he used even more time than last time, a total of 5 days before there were signs of it melting, and he even used all sorts of heavenly alchemy to refine it. Only after an entire 10 days of time, did he finally refine the earthly beast fruit into a mist state. At this time, he had to soak it in the divine sense C for a period of time, and let the divine deity in the divine sense C resonate with the mist, so that he could compress the mist into his divine deity. Chen Shang had noticed it when he was refining the divine deity, so he had already pulled the divine soul out of the body and allowed his main divine soul to assimilate it. Once the divine deity was completed, the divine soul could also immediately integrate into the body. UAA wagged her tail, eating all kinds of delicious things. Because she looked very cute, and had a very sweet mouth, she was very popular among the girls in Hundreds of Flowers village. As a result, she also received a lot of delicious things. 5th divine deity, large success. Chen Shang opened his eyes, his face brimming with joy. UAA, how long did I need? Did it really succeed? You only took 15 days. UAA was very surprised. She immediately flew over and laid on Chen Zhang's head, but sensed that there were actually 5 of them inside divine sense C. What an explosive divine deity, it's very hot. UAA said in surprise. I never thought that you would be able to change this earthly beast fruit into divine soul so quickly. Even if the earthly beast eats it, it cannot be transformed into divine deity in such a way. Chen Shang laughed. I am the alchemist, and this divine fruit is being refined by me into my divine sense C, it's very simple. He threw the remaining earthly beast fruit into the divine sense C and continued to refine it. With his previous experience, he could progress even more smoothly this time. This is great, I should have learned how to refine pills. Yu sighed, being the enforcer of the Star Law Divine Realm is really a road of no return. Chapter 2103. UAA was envious because she saw Chen Shang refining pills. She also clearly knew that this eccentric alchemist Chen Shang was really different from the other alchemists. The other alchemists stayed in the pill refining rooms all day. Their houses were so big that the sky and the earth went dark. She had heard of an alchemist refining a furnace of pills, and several other leaders from that sect had all come out. You don't have to be so anxious. If you use it another 10 days or so, you will have 6 divine deities. However, we still have nearly 20 years here. UAA said. Chen Shang had come here in order to buy time to become stronger, and if this were to continue, it could be said that he had already reached Chen Zhang's goal of cultivating to the 6th divine deity within a month. While Chen Shang was refining the earthly beast fruit in the divine sense C, he laughed, I will be using the rest of my time to attack bones. The bones that I managed to cultivate previously went back to my eyes, which makes me feel more regretful. I want to condense the bones on my hands and feet. Quote. When Chen Shang possessed 4 divine deity and the double bone level above his left arm, he was already very strong. Sigh, who asked you to be the alchemist? It's as easy to condense bones as to grow teeth. When she was condensing her bones back then, all she said out was blood and tears, but Chen Shang said it easily. After 10 days, Chen Shang suddenly burst out laughing, because he had successfully condensed 6 divine deity. The power of his flames were now even more terrifying. 4 fire attribute divine deity S made from, combined with the double bone level on his left arm, attacking the meteor immortal power. UAA couldn't help but become excited just thinking about it. It must be very strong. Look at me. Chen Shang suddenly grabbed UAA and carefully examined her pair of cat eyes. What is it? You use the bones in your eyes to experiment with me. There was a smile in UAA's eyes as she replied, my divine soul is very powerful, you simply cannot cause mental attacks on me. My divine soul. Before UAA could finish speaking, Chen Shang said with a laugh, I saw your divine sense see, haha. Impossible, I simply did not sense a single bit of energy entering my divine sense see, you can't see it. Although UAA said this, her voice also carried a trace of fear, as if her secret had been discovered. Chen Shang laughed. Didn't you say that eyes are the window to the soul? The bones is condensed at the special part of my eye, so it produced a special power. I clearly saw your divine sense see just now, and your 2 divine soul. One of them is in the form of a little girl, the other is a little kitten. Yu was dumbstruck, she shook her head. At most, you can only sense my divine soul, and can never see through my divine sense see. Even if you are a very powerful expert of the 100 gods level, you can't see through other people's divine sense see like that. Do you want me to tell you what your divine sense see looks like? UAA's eyes were filled with fear. She seemed to be very afraid of others seeing her divine sense see, so she could not accept the fact that Chen Shang had seen her. Tell me about it. UAA mustered up her courage and made Chen Shang say it out loud. If it really was like this, she could only accept it. The corner of Chen Zhang's mouth rose slightly, and then he laughed out loud. Your divine sense see has a very luxurious palace, and your divine soul is sitting on a chair inside the palace. Quote, I never thought that UAA, your heart, had always wanted to dominate the Star Law divine realm. This dream is really too vast. UAA shrieked with a meow meow sound, broke free from Chen Zhang's hands, and flew to the top of Chen Zhang's head to randomly grab his hair. Don't laugh, UAA shouted very seriously, grabbing Chen Zhang's hair in a mess, meow. Chen Shang and UAA played around for a while before both of them laid on their backs on the ground, gasping for breath. Although I feel that it's funny, it's not that I'm looking down on you. You are very strong in Star Law divine realm, have 3 god bloodline, and even met a genius alchemist like me, you can't help but become stronger in the future. Chen Shang laughed and said, I am not bragging. Among those who have come into contact with me, as long as my relationship with me is not bad, then I will more or less become stronger because of me. That's why, with me here, you will be able to become the Star Law divine realm's Empress Cat in the nick of time. Quote, UAA humphed tenderly. You are even more narcissistic than me, but what's strange is that your divine sense see is so ordinary. Is your goal really that simple? Do you only want to live the most ordinary life? If that's really the case, then your talent is truly a waste. Quote, Chen Shang stroked his chin, and said with a smile, I have seen you, Sister Feng, Kilian, Shenxian, and Meng, the few divine sense CS, and they all have a lot in common. Bullshit, whose divine sense see is not this exaggerated? Your divine sense see is the most abnormal. UAA was extremely unhappy, she felt that since Chen Zhang's divine sense see was so ordinary, he should have a very high ideal. Although it was absurd, many people would construct their divine sense see like that, so their divine soul would be able to unleash its strongest power. I'm not saying that what you have in common is an exaggeration, but, you all only have 1 divine sense see. Chen Shang smiled slightly. UAA fiercely jumped up. Don't tell me you have 2 divine sense CS. How is that possible? I have never heard of such a thing and it is impossible for it to exist. I really do have 2 divine sense CS, but the other one is hidden very deeply. Chen Shang laughed. Not unless you show it to me. UAA snorted. You have to show me, you have already seen my divine sense see, and I can see that your divine sense see is only a fake one. I want to see your real divine sense see. UAA was already starting to believe that Chen Shang, who had created so many legends in 9 Heaven World, wouldn't be that simple. Nope, Chen Shang stuck out his tongue at her, and UAA meowed. She immediately threw herself at him, grabbed his hair, and started messing with him again. UAA shouted, hurry up and let me see. I want to see. Chen Shang finally managed to calm her down. He didn't think that this kitten that was making such a ruckus was actually so scary. I have a second divine sense C, but it's in a very strange state. I can feel it, but I can't see it myself. In short, I am very sure that my second divine sense C exists and has existed for a long time. However, for some unknown reason, I have been unable to open the gate to the second divine sense C. Chen Shang frowned. I feel like I've lost something. Originally, the first divine sense C I opened should have been the second divine sense C, because that was already there. But then, for some reason, I caused the divine sense C to become like this. Quote. Chapter 2104. UAA was extremely curious about Chen Zhang's second divine sense C. She really wanted to know how a person like Chen Shang would look like as a real divine sense C, a person who reacts to the beautiful fantasies in the deepest part of a person's heart. It's just that Chen Shang didn't even know what he was thinking right now, so UAA couldn't get any information about the real situation from Chen Shang either. Chen Shang now knew one of the uses of bones in the eyes. Being able to see someone's divine sense C could not be considered very useful, but it could be said that he was able to see someone's inner thoughts. I feel that the bones of my eyes can also be used to attack. Chen Shang said, his eyes releasing a ray of red light. Although it was only for a moment, it was true that millions of red light beams had converged, and this was the heart-permeable demon eye that he had learned from Bai Yu. This was the move that he had the least use. If he used it, then someone would really be in trouble. It's not strong enough to deal with ordinary Empyrean gods, but it's not enough to deal with those with great defense and armor. Many beasts have very tough scales on their bodies. Little Moon also saw the terror of that red light. It was able to emit a hair-like red light with an extremely strange penetrating power. It could penetrate a person's body in an instant and cause fatal damage. However, the light rays were still too weak. It was not a problem to deal with people with a lower cultivation level than Chen Shang, but for people with a higher cultivation than him, or people with a strong defense, it was ineffective. So I plan to develop in this area. Not only will it allow my eyes to see more, I will also be able to have the power to attack. Right now, I am unable to transform too much of the Six Realms power, mainly because I don't have the bones nor the soul inside. The double bone level in my eyes are lacking a good soul. Chen Zhang's eyes released a red light again. This time, although the penetrating power of the red thread had increased a lot, it was still extremely limited. As Chen Shang walked out of the time formation, UAA was a little puzzled, not knowing what he wanted to do. UAA flew above Chen Zhang's head and asked, "Are you going back?" After Chen Shang put away the formation plate, he looked at the entrance of the cave that was continuously surging with hot air and laughed. "Of course not, I want to go down and take a look at those earthly beasts. These guys should all have pretty good divine souls, right? Their soul is definitely not bad, but can you handle it now?" UAA was a little surprised. Chen Zhang's eyes lacked a divine soul. She did not expect Chen Shang to actually have the idea about those earthly beasts. "How do you know without trying?" Chen Shang was very confident right now. He had just condensed two divine deity and they both had very powerful divine souls within them, so the matter of him concentrating his other souls was saved. This time, he was not only going down to see how strong the earthly beasts were, but also to see if there were any more earthly fruit down there. Chen Shang jumped down the deep pit that led to the core fire essence. UAA held onto one of his arms, releasing the space domain to help him block the heat. "You can't resist the heat here yourself?" UAA asked. "When you make your move, I'll have to follow you." "I can't do that for now. Follow me, there won't be any danger." Chen Shang had also never tried whether or not he could leave Yuer and freely walk around. He also didn't want to try. When they approached the bottom, Chen Shang heard the earthly beast roaring. These earthly beasts sensed Chen Zhang's qi, and all of them roared. They all remembered that this was the human who took their divine fruit. "How vengeful," Chen Shang laughed. "Those who are not crazy will hold a grudge. You are the one who snatched away their great chance to increase their divine deity." Yuer smiled. When Chen Shang got closer, he could see the appearances of these earthly beasts more clearly. They all looked very strange. There were snake-shaped, tiger-shaped, horse-shaped, and they all had one thing in common, that was that their bodies were wrapped in a layer of fire liquid. "There's quite a number. There's actually 5. Chen Shang took out the cyan dragon blade. Although these earthly beasts were still in the growth stage, they had been in the heart of the earth all year round, and they weren't afraid of the flame essence. In the end, they could only survive one. Only then could it be considered to have grown, and after one earthly beast remained, they would be able to enjoy the earthly beast fruit on their own. Every once in a while, they would be able to increase their divine deity by 2. Uaa replied, "This is the terrifying aspect of earthly beast. It's time to jump up." Uaa suddenly screamed. Chen Shang had always been paying attention to the earthly beast below. When he saw the red light suddenly flash past, he instinctively dodged, and before long, it was a snake-shaped earthly beast, and when it flew over it was as if a red lightning bolt had suddenly struck him. "You actually managed to escape. Hold on tight." Chen Shang immediately dodged to the side and used the time attribute within the god-murdering sword techniques to slow down the snake-shaped earthly beast. Boom! Chen Zhang's body suddenly exploded with a noise. The four-flame divine deity in his divine sense C absorbed the 6 realms power fiercely, transforming these 6 realms power into a fire attribute divine power, and then, rushing to his left arm, he collided with the bones in his left arm. This triggered a strong burst of energy, causing his left arm to rapidly expand. The Azure Dragon Sword also roared, resonating in the center of the earth. After absorbing the powerful energy from Chen Zhang's left arm, the Azure Dragon Sword released a strong dragon chi, which rushed out from the fitness center. Slash! Chen Shang slashed at the snake head that was as thick as a water jar. The snake head earthly beast was unable to dodge in time, its entire head was chopped off by Chen Shang, but its body was still bounced violently. "Come in." Chen Shang took out the 6 realms mirrors and sealed the head and body of the earthly beast into the divine realm. After he had succeeded, Chen Shang was extremely happy. That blade strike from before even frightened him, and if not for the aftereffects emitted from the heart of the earth, he would have been able to destroy a large part of the forest. Just as he was about to return, a weak vibration came from behind. Chen Shang dodged hastily, but he still felt a burning sensation on his back. This animal. Chen Shang knew that his back had just been scratched just a moment ago. What a terrifying penetrating force, to actually be able to penetrate through my scorching sun heavenly elephant. His celestial phenomenon ascendant was able to appear instantly, but the claw of the godly tiger beast that ambushed him earlier was able to injure him. Several scratches appeared on his back. I should be using the cloud and cloud constellation. This was the first time Chen Shang had gotten injured while using the scorching sun heavenly elephant. Just now, he had already felt the sharp claws deeply pierce into his back. Chapter 2105. The tiger god's body was huge, like an adult cow. Its entire body was wrapped in fire essence, its red eyes shot out a strong killing intent. He opened his mouth and roared, then rushed towards Chen Shang once again. What a terrifying divine sense C. The instant Chen Shang met the divine beast's gaze, he saw divine sense C of the divine beast. The sky above the divine sense sea was filled with raging fire clouds, while the seawater inside the divine sense sea was frantically churning fire liquid. It was because of this that this tiger-shaped divine beast had such a violent attack power. "Don't you dare hurt me again." Chen Zhang's eyes opened, releasing a white light that shot into the eyes of the tiger god, and the tiger god's claws had already raised up, revealing its sharp claws, like a sharp dagger. Just as it was about to attack, it suddenly stopped. Even the massive body of the godly tiger form was floating in the air. Die! In a flash, Chen Shang arrived at the side of the tiger-shaped divine beast and slashed at its neck. The tiger-shaped divine beast immediately separated from its head and died on the spot. Hurry up! Just a moment ago, she had also almost been caught by him. Seeing that Chen Shang had already flown to a relatively higher place, she heaved a sigh of relief. These fellows' offensive abilities are really frightening, moreover, they are only in their infancy. We can see that they have yet to take shape. Oh right, what did you do just now? Why did that guy stop? Uaa, who was behind Chen Zhang's neck, did not see the 2 white lights that suddenly shot out from Chen Zhang's eyes. I have used the bones of my eyes to carry out my attack. After I saw his divine sense C, I immediately released a stream of energy that was condensed by the bones of my eyes towards him. Although it was very weak, upon entering that fellow's divine sense C, he actually caused his divine sense C to freeze. Chen Shang said, I never thought that the power released from the bones in my eyes would be so special and have such a strong attack towards the divine sense C. If I were to merge it with my soul, I would definitely be even more powerful. Uaa had said before that the bones of the eyes could cause serious damage to the soul of the divine sense C, and this was indeed the case. Returning to the top, Chen Shang immediately took out an array disc and entered the time formation. He then took out the 2 divine beast souls from the 6 realms mirrors and fused them with his eyes' bones. Meanwhile, his body had already turned into a stream of flame essence, refined into a 6 realms power by the 6 realms mirrors. The 6 realms mirrors would produce a strong wave of 6 realms power every month, and Chen Shang would absorb the 6 realms power into his own divine sense C to strengthen his own. It's fused. Chen Zhang's eyes flashed as flames burst out of them and shot out 2 fiery red rays of light, and an extremely terrifying wave of hot air immediately enveloped over. It's so hot. Is this released from your eyes? Yue said in shock. His eyes can actually release such power. If it were to hit a person with 6 divine deity, it should be able to directly pierce through. Chen Shang closed his eyes and said, I can't do it yet. I don't have enough strength to concentrate it, or else it wouldn't be emitting such a strong heat. Let me try again. This is something I've created based on the heart-permeable demon eye and the meteor immortal power. What? You made the meteor immortal power form in your eyes? Aren't you afraid that the meteor immortal power will explode out of control? That's something that can cause one's head to explode. Yue shivered. She didn't think that Chen Shang would be so reckless, but even if Chen Shang dared to take such a risk, it would allow him to control even more power. It's fine, I have good control. Chen Shang was extremely confident in himself. There are quite a few advantages to condensing bones from your eyes. Your eyesight has become very strong, and you can also look at other people's divine sense C, and interfere with the operation of other people's divine sense C. These are all very gentle uses, and that move of yours just now was too fierce. Yue was also afraid that when Chen Shang looked at her, his eyes would shoot out 2 beams of light that would pierce through her small body. Chen Shang opened her eyes again, and this time, the light in her eyes weren't as intense as before, but the concentrated power of the light was even more terrifying. If these 2 trials can be used on someone else's divine sense C, this would definitely be a devastating attack. Yue said in shock, don't look at me like that, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? It's not like I'm going to hurt you. Chen Shang grabbed her and rubbed her little head while he laughed. You have the fire soul now too, and there's still 19 years of time here. What else do you need to do? Cultivate a little more divine deity, then you won't be able to participate in the battle with the Hell Devil Emperor. Yu said. That's right, I already have 6 divine deity now. I can't even cultivate another one, but I can still cultivate bones. Chen Shang took out 2 sets of bone-level Dan-S, medicinal ingredients. You already have 4 bones. If you want to continue cultivating it, you will need at least a mid-tier bone-level Dan. Every time Chen Shang condensed bones, he would condense double bone level S 2 times, and that would make 4 bones pellets. As for those strong warriors at the peak, they were at most at 9 bones, which was more than half of his original strength. Although I have 4 bones, in other aspects, I can only be considered 2, because I have only evoked the opportunity to condense bones twice. Chen Shang laughed as he released a magic method furnace and placed the bone-level Dan's medicinal ingredients inside. Then, 2 beams of fire shot out from his eyes as he transformed the 2 sets of bone-level Dan's medicinal ingredients into medicine aura S, almost instantly completing the task. This scene scared Yue silly. Previously, she had seen Chen Shang burning bone-level Dan's medicinal ingredients, so it would take a period of time. But now, through her eyes, it was completed in an instant. It really is useful, Chen Shang chuckled and said. Just now, I used Divine Sense C's 4 Fire Divine Nationses, and adding the 2 flame bones in front of my eyes, I finished it in an instant, which is faster than I imagined. Yu took a deep breath. Those old alchemists can go and die now. Chen Shang never thought that the bones in his eyes would actually have this kind of ability. He only recalled the steps of refining a bone-level Dan. The first thing he needed was the original source refining, the spirit blood S that were refining all kinds of divine medicines. Once the spirit blood was fused together, they could fuse all kinds of divine medicines together. However, after releasing the 2 flames from his eyes, it actually went as far as he wanted and was almost as free as he wanted. He knew that the 2 flames carried intelligence and completed these steps in an instant. Chapter 2106. It should have this effect even to the pills I have refined. I will try the Zongpin Dan again when I have divine medicine. Chen Shang began to fuse the air mass into a core. This was refined from 2 batches of bone-level Dan S. If Chen Shang had used this earlier, he would also need some time to increase his maximum speed. Being able to complete this in an instant, had already exceeded his expectations. Only 2 divine medicines would be able to condense a single pill. This could improve the quality of the divine pills. The quality is very high, but it can't be considered a Zongban Dan. There is still some distance between them. Yu said. Chen Shang nodded his head. This one is between lower and middle graded. He placed the bone-level Dan in his mouth, and after eating it, he only needed 4 hours to refine the effects. It's not enough yet. Seems like I need 6 sets of medicinal herbs. Chen Shang took out 6 more batches of bone-level Dan-S and used the same method before to shoot out 2 streams of flames from his eyes. This time, he wasn't able to instantly refine 6 batches of bone-level Dan-S medicine, but his speed was still fast, and it was done in just a few blinks of an eye. This bone-level Dan's medicinal ingredients are really easy to refine, it's basically not difficult at all. Chen Shang would be able to condense his core very soon. That's for you. If the other alchemists were to refine it like this, who knows how many times they would have to fail before being able to succeed. UAA understood a little about concocting pills, and it was extremely difficult for Chen Shang to concoct a few medicinal ingredients like this together. However, right now, Chen Shang was just playing around, casually condensing a pill. Very quickly, Chen Shang managed to condense a high-quality bone-level Dan. After he ate it, he refined it for 14 hours, which normally required him to control it for around 6 hours. He wouldn't be able to trigger the opportunity to condense bones the first time, so he didn't think much of it and started the second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. In just a few days, he only had 1 portion of bone-level Dan's medicine left. What's going on? Before I can trigger the opportunity, all of my medicinal herbs will be gone. Chen Shang was a little agitated. If I go look for Sister Feng now, I won't be able to get much, because not many days have passed since we last met. These 100 batches of bone-level Dan-S were considered to be a lot for Feng Yuji and the rest, they would not be able to replicate that much in a short amount of time. Although Chen Shang had stayed in the time formation for a few days, he did not stay outside for too long. I can only copy it myself. Chen Shang took out the 6 realms mirrors, and while absorbing the 6 realms power, he condensed spirit liquid. The third chance is a little more difficult, and you have 4 divine deity yourself, so it's even more difficult. You need to try multiple times, and you have some patience. If that were the case, then she would have been able to balance her heart a bit. She had used 10,000 years to successfully trigger the third opportunity. Chen Shang was very patient. He did not know how many times he tried, but he only knew that after he continuously condensed spirit liquid, duplicated bone-level Dan's medicinal herbs, refined the bone-level Dan, and ate and refined it, he did not succeed, and then repeated this step again. He continued to persevere like this for 18 years. She wandered outside, occasionally running to the deep pit in the center of the earth to take a look. She stayed outside for more than 10 days, then entered the time formation again. The battle with the Hell Devil Emperor is about to begin. It's time for him to return. UAA was responsible for calculating the time. When she entered the array, she saw Chen Shang rolling and shouting on the ground. The little devil succeeded. UAA didn't dare believe it. Chen Shang had successfully summoned the third opportunity to condense bones within the span of tens of years. Back then, she had continuously gone through this process for many years before finally succeeding. This time it's in my leg. Chen Zhang's pant leg had already cracked open, and the muscles on his thigh had swelled up. UAA was very clear that they were really going to condense bones, and as long as they could persevere on, they would definitely be able to pass. Chen Shang was in so much pain that it would have been better to die 2 days later. Did it work? UAA looked at Chen Zhang's handsome face, which was gradually recovering its color. Chen Shang closed his eyes and did not speak. He was breathing evenly, and after a while, he said slowly, I have stayed here for 18 years, and have finally reached my goal. 6 divine deity, 6 bones. 6 bones. UAA was in disbelief. What's on your legs is also a double divine deity. Chen Shang nodded. What exactly happened here? Could it be that every time I am here, I become a double bone level? Quote. Could this have something to do with you possessing a second divine sense C? She was now even more convinced that Chen Shang possessed a mysterious divine sense C. Only by doing this could she explain why Chen Shang always appeared as a double bone level. Chen Shang frowned. That's possible. Why would the second divine sense C affect my bones? I don't know either. This is the first time I've seen something like this. All sorts of weird things happen to you. Why are you bowing? UAA was a little jealous, especially at Chen Zhang's double bone level. Chen Shang had already recovered his strength. He sat up, patted on his right leg, and sighed, "Why can't I be on the right arm? It's good that you don't grow in any strange places. At the very least, it will give your legs a lot of strength. When competing with the Hell Devil Emperor, can't I use divine weapons? The parts you possess, the bones, are divine weapons, especially the limbs, which are the most convenient places to attack." Yu said. Chen Shang and Yue walked out of the time formation, and he kept all the formation plates. "Yue, how much time do we have to start the competition?" "Tomorrow morning," Yue replied. "Why? You still have to be here." Quote, "Let's go, there are still 3 earthly beasts down there. We'll take care of 2 more and leave 1 here." Chen Shang grabbed Yue, letting her lie on his shoulder. "The bones of the legs does not have a soul, this is not perfect." Chen Shang laughed and jumped into the pit. 2 of the 5 divine beasts bred in the center of the earth had already been killed by Chen Shang, and all of them were in his eyes and bones. Now the 2 more bones have condensed in his legs, of course he had come to look for these earthly beasts. Unlucky earthly beast, Yue chuckled. This time, Chen Shang was much more powerful than the last time he came here. Just as he came down, 2 bird-shaped earthly beasts flew over and were killed by him with a few moves. There is also a horse-shaped one. This guy is so lucky. There's no need to compete with the other earthly beast. In the future, when I grow here, I'll be able to eat 2 earthly beast fruits every so often. Yue looked at the smallest of the horse-shaped divine beasts and said with a tender smile, "This guy should be thanking you in advance. Just don't attack me next time." Chen Shang chuckled, then flew up into the air and entered the time formation, fusing the 2 divine souls into the bones on his legs. Chapter 2107. After Chen Shang completed the double bone level, which contained his 2 divine souls, and fused them with his legs, he felt that his legs were filled with power, just like the last time where his arm fused with his soul. When he walked out of the time formation, he used his great strength to stomp on the ground, causing a wave of flames to erupt. His surroundings also slightly trembled, not releasing the power he just obtained. He felt very uncomfortable. It's already very powerful. Right now, your 6 divine deity and 6 bones shouldn't be a problem for you to deal with an initial stage 2 god, Yue exclaimed in shock. Earlier, when Chen Shang had fiercely used the power of the meteor immortal power, it was rather terrifying for someone who only possessed 6 divine deity. "Alright, how much time do we have to go back and start now?" Chen Shang asked. "Go back and get some sleep, you can gather in the morning," Yue said as she lay on Chen Zhang's body. After she and Chen Shang left the tunnel and reached the surface, Chen Shang took out an array disc and teleported to 100 Flowers Pavilion before heading to City Lord's mansion. It was already late at night, but the inside of the City Lord's mansion was still lively. Wu Keiming was currently in a meeting with some big shots. Zhou Sheng, Mu Chenxiang, and the others were also in the City Lord's mansion. Chen Shang and the others were going to the battlefield tomorrow to fight against the 3 mysterious rankers sent by the Hell Devil Emperor. "Do you know who our opponent is?" Chen Shang saw that Zhou Sheng and Mu Chenxiang were both in the hall as he walked in. "Right now, one of them is Fu Tianggao," Mu Chenxiang said. "We were almost tricked by this guy earlier, luckily we found out their motive in time." It was very normal for the son of the Fu Tian school, Fu Tianggao, to rely on the Hell Devil Emperor for his evil technique. However, for Fu Tianggao to fight in this battle, it meant that the Hell Devil Emperor attached a great deal of importance to Fu Tianggao, so he definitely had a bit of strength. The Fu Tian school has suffered heavy losses as well. Who let them think about exterminating our clan? Serves them right. I met this fellow tomorrow. I definitely won't let him off. Mu Chenxiang's face was filled with fury. Fu Tianggao and his father had previously surrounded him before, but in the end, they still escaped. Zhou Sheng frowned. The situation might not be good for us because they already know what's happening on our side. On the day of the selection, there must be spies amongst the disciples that are participating, and they will definitely leak out our details. Mu Chenxiang was also worried that they had used all their strength during the previous selection and that Chen Zhang's weakness had also been discovered by him. Although it had passed through 20 days of special training, it couldn't make up for much of it. "We have to find out how many spies and see how many spies he revealed," Chen Shang said. "These guys don't hide so well, although there aren't many people who participated in the first time, it wasn't hard for us to guard against them." Zhou Sheng sighed, because he had only just found out about Fu Tianggao's situation, that's why he thought that the Hell Devil Emperor had some people planted inside. Initially, there were only 100 or so participants in the selection. Chen Shang rolled his eyes and said, I will go find the little Baldy and have him gather all the disciples that attended the selection that day. I have a way to confirm if there is a spy. What method? Mu Chenxiang did not believe that Zhou Sheng would do the same. Secrets. Chen Shang immediately entered the conference room and sat down. Several tens of people, who were elders-level penalty heavenly goddess of various major powers, asked, "What is it, Chen Shang?" "There's something important to talk about," Chen Shang said. Zhou Sheng and Mu Chenxiang's worry. "That is something that we had already thought of a long time ago. Thus, you don't have to worry about us choosing disciples very strictly," penalty heavenly god said. "Furthermore, I am personally responsible for this. If you're really worried, then what are you going to do? Call them here first. Tell them to be worried that if something goes wrong, they might come here to be their substitutes." Chen Shang said. Back then, they did not discover that Fu Tianggao had snuck into the devil-killing heavenly god, so Chen Shang was still a bit worried. Wu Kaming said, "The gathering is almost done. Everyone, go call those brats over." LV Kilian was also there. She immediately went back to call Shui Ying, Ji Meixian and Leng Yulan, who were still in Hundreds of Flowers village. Yun Xiaodao and the others were also there. In less than an hour, a great hall of the city lord's mansion was filled with people. This was not only the disciples who had participated in the selection that day, but also some spectators who had come to watch the competition. When LV Kilian came, he also told Bai Yuyu and Bai Ziqian that they were present at the time, so they had come as well. There were several hundred people here, and many of them were heavyweights and elders of a certain force. It was hard to say how long Hell Devil Emperor would take, but even they did not know. Right now, they were also a little worried in their hearts. Chen Shang sent a sound transmission to the penalty heavenly god to ask him to tell him the reason behind gathering the people. The penalty heavenly god didn't know what Chen Shang was planning, but Chen Shang had said that he had a way of finding out whether or not there were any secrets to the event that day, so he loudly said, "Among the lot of you, one of us leaked the secret to the event that day. This secret is mainly related to the way our disciples, who are participating, fought through this." When the penalty heavenly god said this, Chen Zhang's eyes, which had merged with the bones, locked onto everyone's eyes. Right when the penalty heavenly god said that, he caught three people whose gazes were off. There are actually two elders. These two elders should be from the Floating Life Divine City, right? Chen Shang heard Wu Kaming talk about how Lu Fusheng from the Floating City had helped him back then, so he was more concerned about the Floating Life Divine City. Their eyes were just a little bit off. Chen Shang was not sure yet, but when he tried to take a closer look, he discovered that their divine sense C was shockingly red in color. It was obvious that they were affected by the cultivation of demonic techniques. The young man was even more so, the corpses in the divine sense C. There were blood all over the place, and on top of a mountain of corpses, sat his soul. His hair was messy, his eyes were red, and his body emitted a fiendish aura that soared to the sky. This guy is actually from devil-killing Divine City. Chen Shang looked at the man's attire and was very surprised to see that an outstanding disciple of the devil-killing Divine City had actually mixed into his cultivation method and cultivation method. Chen Shang immediately sent a sound transmission to devil-killing heavenly god and the others to inform them of the abnormality of the three people. The three of them noticed that Ji Yu Dongchen and the other few big shots were looking at them. Although they looked very calm, Chen Shang could see from the slight change in their eyes that they were panicking. Chapter 2108. Ren Tianyang was the first to move as she moved to the side of the young man. She placed one hand on his shoulder and forcefully checked the strength of the man's divine sense C. "City Lord, you are, the man suddenly cried out in pain. His body unexpectedly emitted waves of extremely terrifying evil aura. When the two elders of the floating divine city saw this, they became even more anxious. They had just wanted to capture the young people beside them as hostages, but they were sealed up by Ji Yu Dongchen, devil-killing heavenly god, and the others without being able to move. Everyone immediately distanced themselves from the three people. They were also extremely shocked to see that there was actually a spy among them, and that he did not have a good status. Just now, Ji Yu Dongchen had secretly sent a sound transmission to Lu Fusheng. Lu Fusheng arrived in front of the two elders and coldly said, "I treated you guys well, yet you guys actually betrayed me." "City Lord, what did you say? This must be a misunderstanding," an old man hurriedly said. Misunderstanding? It was unknown what method devil-killing heavenly god used when he struck out. After hitting the old man, an evil aura surged out, enveloping the entire hall. "Honestly, didn't you guys tell Hell Devil Emperor about the battle that day?" Penalty Heavenly God asked coldly. Bai Yu walked over and said in a cold voice, let me just search my soul and see then. Chen Shang shouted anxiously, don't. Their divine soul is imprinted with the Hell Devil Emperor's seal. If you try to look through their memories, they will automatically destroy their own divine soul. The three spies were instantly shocked because they did not know about this matter either. However, they knew that the reason the Hell Devil Emperor did anything to their divine soul was to gain the Hell Devil Emperor's trust in them. City Lord, when we were about to leave, he promised us that he would extend our lives, but we have to work for him, an old man said in a mournful voice. The City Lord has always been very good to us, it's a pity that we can't improve any further, we can only die of old age, but we don't want to die. What about you? What's going on? Ren Tianyang angrily asked as he looked at the man he had grabbed. The man suddenly sneered, his eyes turned red, his chest suddenly split open as he reached out with his hand. He held onto a black dagger tightly. His speed was extremely fast. Ren Tianyang never thought that the other party would suddenly possess such terrifying strength. It was simply too late to dodge, and just as his head was about to be penetrated, Ren Tianyang suddenly disappeared. When Chen Shang was in danger, he used teleportation to teleport Ren Tianyang away. Otherwise, Ren Tianyang would really be in danger. Die! Devil-killing Heavenly God was furious. Just now, his disciple was almost done for, but seeing that Ren Tianyang was fine, he instantly flashed over and slapped the man with his golden palm. The brat from City Lord is, an old man who wanted to say something cried out in pain. His body was soon set ablaze by the black flames and soon turned to ash. Penalty Heavenly God frowned, is this the power of the Hell Devil Emperor's curse? It seems like he can't even say anything or he'll die. The remaining old man's legs trembled. He was extremely regretful that he had cooperated with the Hell Devil Emperor. He did not expect that the thing that the Hell Devil Emperor had left behind in their divine soul could take their lives at any time. I can't say it now either. Otherwise, I will die. The old man's face was bitter and bitter. Chen Shang walked over and looked at the old man. The old man's eyes had penetrated into his divine sense C and found the old man's main divine soul. There was the Hell Devil Emperor's mark between his eyebrows. You can say it now, Chen Shang said. If you say it out loud, you won't die, so you should be able to feel that the imprint Hell Devil Emperor left on your divine soul was erased by me just now. Devil-killing Heavenly God and the others were shocked. They were surprised by Chen Zhang's methods just now. Just now, that brat was the proud disciple of the Hell Devil Emperor and he was sent to the devil-killing divine city a long time ago. When the old man realized that he was fine, he heaved a sigh of relief and continued, the Hell Devil Emperor already knows about the details of the battle here. Of course, we also know a little about their situation. What about the other two? Lu Fusheng asked. The other two are very mysterious. I don't know much about them. They are very arrogant, even the experts beside Hell Devil Emperor are looked down by them. The old man replied. Ji Yu Dongchen took a light breath. It was obvious that those two arrogant people were from the divine nations. All of you go back and rest. Rest in the morning and have a good fight, said Ji Yu Dongchen. The old man was brought away by them. Chen Shang had already guessed long ago that there would definitely be a divine nations who would fight on the side of the city lord's mansion. Chen Shang soon went to sleep fighting for a good state. In the morning, he woke up to see Mu Chenxiang in the courtyard. Bro, Mu Chenxiang immediately walked over and smiled sweetly, why do I feel like you've gotten stronger again? As she said that, she took out a large plate of roasted meat and gave it to Chen Shang. She was a big foodie and was going to fight today, so she specially made some delicious food for Chen Shang. Good girl, Chen Shang took it over and wolfed it down. Seeing the look on his face, Mu Chenxiang giggled. Wu Kaming and Ji Yu Dongchen also came to the courtyard with Zhou Sheng following behind them. You can go outside the city. Right now, everyone is already waiting on top of the city walls. Ji Yu Dongchen couldn't help but laugh when he saw that Chen Shang was still eating. After Chen Shang finished eating the meat, he laughed and said, calm down. What worries me the most is that there are other plots going on in the Hell Devil Emperor. As long as there's no war right now, it's fine, Ji Yu Dongchen said. He had considered things from a long-term perspective. If he fought with the army of the Hell Devil Emperor this time, they would not have enough strength to fight against the other powers of the Super God Realm. Those powers in the Super God Realm would definitely not tolerate the sudden appearance of such a huge force pressuring them. The great formation of the Nine Heaven City did not close Chen Shang and the others who had come outside the city via the transmission array. They had come to ensures Mu Chenxiang's and Zhou Sheng's safety. The devil-killing heavenly god, penalty heavenly god, Ji Yudongchen, LV Kilian and Long Huishan were all outside the city while the others were all watching them from atop the city walls. Chapter 2109. The Hell Devil Emperor's side had also sent many strong Hell Devil Emperors and Fire God's puppets. It seemed like their overall strength was much stronger than the Nine Heaven School's side. It was no wonder that Ji Yudongchen was worried that they would be unable to recover from the great battle after losing both of them. Chen Shang, long time no see. We're old enemies too. This time, you better be careful and not lose your life. Hell Devil Emperor wore a dark red armor and the middle-aged man's face was filled with ferocity. Even though he did not emit any demonic aura, he looked very scary. Back then, when I was still very weak, didn't you do all you could to kill me? The one who should be careful is an evil demon like you. You should be able to live for so long. Wu Kaming took out the black ball that tested the divine deity and said, let your people cooperate a little. This is to prevent anyone with 6 divine deity and above from sneaking in. Hell Devil Emperor also took out a divine deity testing treasure. It was a red bead, and he said with a sneer, you should also let your people cooperate with me. I'm more worried that you guys are cheating. At this time, one of the 3 young men who walked out from behind the Hell Devil Emperor was Fu Tianggao. When he saw Chen Shang, his face was filled with anger, and he was extremely jealous of him. Because he knew that Chen Shang had many outstanding women by his side, and this Mu Chenxiang in front of him was Chen Zhang's recognized sister. The other 2 men were dressed in white. There was not a single emotion on their faces, and their eyes were filled with coldness, as if nothing in the world could be placed in their eyes. However, they were extremely cooperative as they tested the quantity of their divine deity. After the test, they were all given 6 divine deities. What was more surprising was that the rays of light they gave off during the test were very bright, much brighter than Zhou Sheng and his. This meant that their divine deity was special and strong. Take as many divine deity as you have. How many specks of light are in this bead? After Hell Devil Emperor tossed the bead in his hand to Zhou Sheng to receive, 6 white specks of light instantly appeared within your red bead. After the test is finished, place it on the ground. Wait for the specks of light to disappear before moving on to the next one. Then, Mu Chenxiang picked it up and 6 more light dots appeared on top of it. After showing it to Hell Devil Emperor, she placed it back on the ground. It was Chen Zhang's turn to be serious. At this time, because he already knew that Chen Shang only possessed 4 divine deity and 4 of them already displayed extremely strong strength, he wanted to see if it was true. Although Chen Shang had been at the side of the black ball before, the Hell Devil Emperor felt that it was not accurate. After Chen Shang picked it up, 6 white specks of light immediately appeared inside the red bead. Chen Shang actually had 6 divine deities. Mu Chenxiang and Zhou Sheng both felt extremely surprised. It was simply impossible for Chen Shang to condense 2 divine deity from the first 20 days. What's going on? Could it be that our previous measurement was not accurate? Wang Jinshi was extremely surprised. Does this kid originally have 6 divine deity? Did he purposefully suppress 2 sets of divine deity before? It's very possible that this brat has always liked to hide his own strength, Bai Yuyu said. Amongst this group of people, she understood Chen Shang the most. Only LV Kilian knew that Chen Shang had gone to Shui Shenxian and the others to borrow a time formation plate. However, she still could not believe that it would be possible to condense 2 divine deity that quickly even after 20 years of time. After all, the higher one went, the harder it was. Hell Devil Emperor also saw the surprise on Ji Yudongchen and the others' faces and knew that they were puzzled about the 2 divine deities that suddenly appeared from Chen Zhang's body. Right now, everyone secretly thought that Chen Shang had deliberately concealed 2 divine deity. If that was really the case, would he be hiding another divine deity? Is Master still hiding other divine deity? Fu Tianggao also knew that Chen Shang only had 4 divine deities before. If he is still hiding, then wouldn't we be at a disadvantage? This is impossible. This treasure was refined by our great national master. On the basis of it, he can't fool this treasure. A man in white said. Hearing him say that, great national master was sure that Chen Shang was from divine nations, yet he was secretly helping the Hell Devil Emperor. So what if he has 7 divine deity? I can still kill him. The other white-clothed man laughed coldly as he looked at Chen Shang with disdain. The Hell Devil Emperor passed the red bead to a white-clothed man and said, the 3 people that will be participating are Nilin and Dong Lijun. Ji Yudongchen said, We are Mu Chenxiang, Zhou Sheng, Chen Shang. Fortunately, according to the rules of the competition, if no one is allowed to participate, then just admit defeat and take responsibility. Hell Devil Emperor laughed sinisterly as he looked at Chen Shang and continued, the process of the competition is to not allow the use of weapons the moment you use one. Even if you violate the rules of the competition, you will still have to go through with the contract now. All the participants from both sides had made a promise not to use divine weapons or divine armors, and also made a promise that they only had 6 divine deity. When this contract was completed, it would also mean that Chen Shang only had 6 divine deity. If you violate the contract, I will not take your lives. It will only give you a headache, Hell Devil Emperor said. Earlier, I clearly knew that you cannot consume pellets after getting injured unless you withdraw. This contract was very fair to both sides. On our side, Fu Tianggao is going to fight. If he wins, he can continue to fight against the participants on your side. Hell Devil Emperor said, if you win, he can choose to continue fighting or change his opponent. Fu Tianggao had already walked out. I'll take care of them all myself. You guys must run off the stage in time to admit defeat, I won't be merciful even in front of beauties. The enchantments of the dueling platform were set up by the strong experts of both sides. Although the aftermath of the battle was very strong and they couldn't escape, they could fall out or go back and rest for a while. If it really wasn't possible, they could only withdraw and not fight again. In Zhou Sheng's first match, he had controlled the power of time to let Chen Shang and Mu Chenxiang clearly see that Fu Tianggao's control over the power of time also had a very strong ability to protect himself. Chapter 2110. The fighting stage was quite large, like a small square. It wasn't easy for it to fall out, and if one admitted defeat, one had to run off the stage. If the opponent was too strong, there was no time to run down and admit defeat, there would be danger. After Zhou Sheng walked onto the stage, he was a little worried because the other party knew them like the back of his hand. However, they knew nothing about the enemy, which was why they were at a disadvantage. Although Zhou Sheng had gone through 20 days of training, he still had not fixed the flaw that Chen Shang had discovered, but if the other party knew that he had used it extremely well, it would be a difficult battle for him. When he went up on stage, Ji Yu Dongchen sent a sound transmission to him, telling him to stand to the side as much as possible. To Ji Yu Dongchen, even if they lost on his side, just a little Shen Yuan stone would not be enough to make up for the loss of an outstanding disciple. As for disciples like Zhou Sheng, who used the power of time, they were even rarer and more precious. The rules should be clear. Hell Devil Emperor sneered. Walk to the center. The square stage was 300 to 400 feet wide, and there were only 2 people standing on it. It seemed very spacious. Zhou Sheng was a little nervous, he could tell that this was the first time he had experienced such a fight, and in the past, he had always been fighting with his own people, but now, he was fighting with such a cunning enemy, or at least using his evil qi. Begin! Hell Devil Emperor suddenly roared, scaring everyone, causing them to be secretly shocked. They all started to shout, while Zhou Sheng was the first to attack. In the previous matches, he had used 8-time clones from the very beginning, but now he was using 16. This was his limit. Kid who controls time, haha. Fu Tianggao suddenly laughed sinisterly, the black aura around his body started to surge. Zhou Sheng's time clone, who was just about to get close, was immediately affected by it. Zhou Sheng didn't know what method the other party used, but he knew that his time and energy had been greatly restricted. Now he knew that the 2 brothers did not have enough control over the power of time, and that there was a fatal flaw. It's a soul form. Chen Shang frowned, he released a lot of dead souls just now. These dead souls are connected with Fu Tianggao's divine soul, and are equivalent to a part of him, so time and energy are useless against these dead souls. At this moment, he realized that it was extremely difficult to control the power of time. He immediately understood that the barrier was simply too strong, and changing the time inside of the barrier was extremely difficult, and he secretly hated himself in his heart. He was strong in the power of time, but being in a useless place like this, he had already been restricted greatly in his power. Ah! Zhou Sheng suddenly cried out in pain. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. A black shadow had struck his back. It was a fist that had been transformed into a ghost, and Zhou Sheng was unable to change the timing of the attack. Furthermore, the opponent's attack was extremely fast, and even if it came from all directions, it would be difficult for him to dodge. Come down. At this time, they had also realized that because the barrier was too strong, and Zhou Sheng's use of the power of time wasn't good enough, she was definitely limited by a certain amount of restrictions. Zhou Sheng's back was hit. Not only were his body injured, his divine soul had also suffered some sort of injury. What shocked him was that he was currently surrounded by a large number of souls, all of them had been refined and possessed very strong powers. Under Fu Tiangao's control, they turned into fists or legs, and rushed towards Zhou Sheng. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Sheng had been hit multiple times again. I don't believe I can't kill you. Fu Tiangao's power was very strong, the undead spirits that he had controlled were able to suppress Zhou Sheng and he had not made a move yet. But right now, he was rushing towards Zhou Sheng as his palm suddenly grew larger, his fingertips growing long and sharp, the skin of his palm became rough and black smoke emitted out of it, making him look like a demon's claw, which was extremely terrifying. Fu Tiangao flew over as fast as lightning and used his terrifying claw to stab towards Zhou Sheng, who had been retreating this entire time, had already sensed it. Humph! Black skin appeared on Fu Tiangao's face, and he seemed to be even more powerful than before. He snorted angrily, and quickly retracted his hand, ripping off Zhou Sheng's arm. After Zhou Sheng let out a miserable cry, another arm grew out from the area of his severed arm. Was even more furious now, with his cultivation of the evil demon, he would have easily been able to enlarge his evil thoughts. If a normal person was only envious of Zhou Sheng's abilities, but Fu Tiangao was crazy with jealousy, if he could not obtain it, he would destroy it. This time, he reached his claws out towards Zhou Sheng's neck. His speed was even faster than last time and his strength was even stronger than last time. Because Zhou Sheng had already walked down the stage, this was equivalent to him admitting defeat. Fu Tiangao couldn't attack him anymore. Brat, don't ever go on stage again. I won't give you another chance next time. Fu Tiangao said angrily. He had already recovered to his original appearance. The way he looked just now when he was angered was extremely terrifying. Chen Xiang, do you think you can take care of him? Ji Yu Dongchen asked. If Mu Chen Xiang could not do it, Chen Xiang would directly go up, and then, Fu Tiangao's strength was truly terrifying. Zhou Sheng could only concede. I'll try, Mu Chen Xiang said. Since we are here, we should fight. Chen Xiang sent a sound transmission to her. It is enough for you to use the Devil Slayer clan to deal with him. This kind of evil demon is most afraid of this kind of thing. You should be more familiar with the Devil Slayer clan, right? Yes. Mu Chen Xiang jumped up onto the stage. Upon seeing him, Fu Tiangao's eyes instantly revealed an evil light, as though she wanted to pull him out completely. Begin! Hell Devil Emperor shouted, and Fu Tiangao suddenly flashed, and appeared behind Mu Chen Xiang. He pressed his lips together a little, and used his pair of evil claws to fiercely stab Mu Chen Xiang in the back. Mu Chen Xiang was extremely vigilant, and when she noticed that Fu Tiangao had disappeared, she immediately left her original position to avoid the pair of demon claws. When she tried to avoid the claws, her jade hands shot out a gold light that was filled with the sacred power of exterminating devils, hitting Fu Tiangao's body and turning into a chain that tied Fu Tiangao up. Demon-slaying chains. You did a good job. Wang Jinshi heaved a sigh of relief. She was worried about Mu Chen Xiang, because that Fu Tiangao was too terrifying. After Mu Chen Xiang tied Fu Tiangao up, he released her few swords that were condensed from God power. She controlled these swords to form a sword formation and pierced towards Fu Tiangao. You're underestimating me, damn you. Fu Tiangao laughed out loud. After shattering the golden chains on his body, he let out a furious roar, and a terrifying scene appeared. 6 arms suddenly appeared from his back. These arms were all black and rough skin, they all had those kind of terrifying demon claws. Come down, Chen Xiang anxiously shouted. Mu Chen Xiang clenched her teeth, increased the power of her swords, and quickly ran down the stage. In the blink of an eye, she was about to leave the stage, but her back was still hit by a flying demon claw. Mu Chen Xiang was sent flying and off the stage. Chen Xiang rushed over to catch her, and she incinerated the palm that had stabbed into his back. At the same time, Mu Chen Xiang was also severely injured. I'm leaving, Mu Chen Xiang shouted. She was injured at the moment. If he did not save her, she would be in danger. Now, it was Chen Zhang's turn to go up on stage. Neither Zhou Sheng nor Mu Chen Xiang could be a match for him. Chapter 2111. Zhou Sheng had defeated both of them in such a short period of time, and he had even lost in such a pathetic manner. If Zhou Sheng didn't have the time and energy to heal his injuries, he would probably be even more injured than Mu Chen Xiang right now. Mu Chen Xiang had already consumed a pill and was teleported back to the city. She stood on the city wall and looked at Fu Tiangao who had recovered from his injuries. This fellow is simply a demon. I hope nothing will happen to your brother. Mu Chenxiang had clearly felt the difference between her and Fu Tianggao just now. She had used the power of the Devil Slayer, but the effect wasn't obvious, and she was still forcefully suppressed by the opponent. Big Bro will definitely be able to beat him. His opponents are the two fellows from Divine Nations. Leng Yulin said. Chen Shang walked up the stage and slowly walked to the center, saying, I didn't expect you to actually do such a disgusting thing in order to get power. I really admire you for that. What did you say? When Fu Tianggao saw Chen Shang, his anger surged for some reason, especially when he thought about how Chen Shang was hugging so many beautiful and outstanding women. His heart almost exploded with rage. The only reason you can become so strong is because of that demon. I know that your Fu Tian school cultivates a type of nourishing evil technique. Are you trying to pick up nourishment for that kind of demon? Otherwise it would be impossible for them to fuse so well with their powers. Chen Shang smiled faintly. Chen Shang had only just stared into Fu Tianggao's eyes, yet he could directly see his divine sense C, which was filled with demons. Originally, Fu Tianggao was a good girl, but in order to obtain power, he stayed together with the demon. Currently, he was gradually being affected by the demon, so his divine sense C should have had all kinds of beauties, but now he was actually a demon. What made Chen Shang feel the most saddened was that Fu Tianggao did not wish to do so. He could no longer control his own divine sense C. Say a little more, because you won't have a chance to say more in the future. Both of Fu Tianggao's hands had already become devil claws, and as his face gradually turned black, his eyes suddenly grew larger, becoming half human and half demon. The demonic aura that continuously surged out from his body was also extremely terrifying, to the point that the stage was shaking. Chen Shang had already walked to the middle and lightly said, That's right, you won't have a chance to hear me speak anymore in the future, because you're going to die very soon. Hell Devil Emperor could not wait any longer and shouted loudly, Begin. He had not seen Chen Shang for many years, and now, he also wanted to see just how strong Chen Shang was. Of course, he wished to see Chen Shang die a horrible death even more, and Fu Tianggao's methods would definitely cause Chen Shang to die a miserable death. Chen Shang did not attack first, but stood at his original position with a composed expression. Fu Tianggao had long been furious, his body had been turned into a monster by his anger. He roared like a demon and rushed towards Chen Shang. His hands were like two black swords as they stabbed at Chen Shang. These two claws were extremely terrifying. Mu Chenxiang and Zhou Sheng almost died under the claws. But now, Fu Tianggao's attacks were even more ferocious. As the spectators were looking at Fu Tianggao, who seemed to have gone berserk, they were even more shocked. Seeing Fu Tianggao attacking, they almost shouted out, afraid that Chen Shang would be instantly killed. The outcome was outside of everyone's expectations. Facing these two claws, he would definitely have to dodge, but not only did Chen Shang not do so, he even reached out to grab the other party's palms. Fu Tianggao suddenly perspired profusely. His hands that were filled with immense amounts of demonic qi was actually immobilized, and was grabbed tightly by Chen Shang. Die! Chen Shang raised his right leg and swept towards Fu Tianggao's thick waist, breaking the body that had turned into a demon from the waist. The extremely strong Fu Tianggao just now had easily defeated Mu Chenxiang and Zhou Sheng, but his body had actually been cut into two pieces, and it was even broken by someone's leg. This was the right leg of the double bone level that Chen Shang condensed, and the divine soul of two powerful earthly beasts had also fused inside. Chen Shang did not use the meteor immortal power, he only poured the fire god energy that was transformed from the four fire god divine deity into his legs. The power could be said to be extremely terrifying, and without the divine armor, it was simply impossible for him to resist. You're just so. At this moment, Chen Shang was still holding onto Fu Tianggao's hands. He lightly tossed and threw the upper half of Fu Tianggao's body to the ground. His right leg burned with raging flames as he fiercely stomped down towards Fu Tianggao's lower half. Boom! Everyone only saw sparks flying in all directions, and Fu Tianggao's lower body was already turned into slag. This gave everyone a huge shock, and Fu Tianggao was already very scary, but Chen Shang was even more powerful, as he instantly slashed Fu Tianggao's body into two pieces. Then, he stomped on Fu Tianggao's lower body till it became dust. This kind of strength didn't seem like the power of the sixth divine deity at all. It had to be known that Fu Tianggao's strength had already far surpassed the ordinary sixth divine deity. Mu Chenxiang and Zhou Sheng were both outstanding divine gods of the sixth divine deity, but they could only retreat in defeat against Fu Tianggao. Just how strong was Chen Shang? No one had been able to find out, but the primordial gods present actually doubted whether they could defeat such a terrifying Chen Shang with the power of the primordial god. You, Fu Tianggao crawled on the ground with both hands. He wanted to lie down and fight, but Chen Shang would not let him succeed. He jumped over, and when he landed, his feet congealed into strong flame power and stepped on Fu Tianggao's body. Boom! A wave of flames surged from under Chen Zhang's feet and spread in all directions. This stomp of Chen Zhang's used a very strong fire divine power. After all, it was the upper half of his body. With Fu Tianggao's divine sense C, he wanted to destroy it once and for all. The stage was covered in blazing fire, but it disappeared very quickly as if Chen Shang had just absorbed it. Fu Tianggao had already disappeared, but there was only black dust on the ground. Everyone looked at the smoldering ashes, and could not help but shiver. The terrifying Fu Tianggao from just a moment ago was done for. So there was such a huge gap between us. It seems like he was only playing around with me the last time we competed. The astonished Leng Yulin said in a heavy tone. Chen Shang, this bastard, damn, that's scary. Zhu Rong had fought with Chen Shang before, so when he recalled that he wasn't injured when he lost, he felt extremely lucky. The ones who were most shocked were of course the supreme gods who had maintained the barrier the most. Just now, Ji Dongchen and the others could clearly feel that the aftershock was extremely strong. They only had 6 divine deity and felt very suspicious of Chen Shang. Although Fu Tianggao was strong, the intensity of his power was still within their range of power, and Chen Shang was simply too terrifying. He looked at Ni Lin and Dong Lijun, the 2 men whose faces were still filled with arrogance. They had come from the divine nations, and were even connected to some great national master. Ni Lin, Dong Lijun, who will go up first? You should have seen Chen Zhang's strength. The Hell Devil Emperor hesitated for a moment, then said, if you can't beat him, then forget it, Chen Shang will not show mercy at that time. Don't worry, the one who died was him. Even though I, Ni Lin, am not very strong in divine nations, I have more than enough to kill him. Ni Lin walked up the stage. Chapter 2112. On the city wall, everyone was suspicious of Chen Zhang's power, but Ni Lin felt that he was stronger than him. How's the fight going? Long Shui ran over in a hurry, and pulled Mu Chenxiang along as he asked, why are you here, did you leave? Mu Chenxiang nodded, then quickly and simply told Long Shui about the battle. Long Shui looked at Ni Lin and said, this guy has a sickness, see how little scoundrel will torture him to death later. Yue said, Ni Lin is not in the fighting stage, so I am unable to feel Chen Zhang's strength. Furthermore, he looked down on the Fu Tianggao who was killed, so he felt that Fu Tianggao was not that strong. Chen Shang stood in the middle and watched Ni Lin walking over. He stared fixedly at Ni Lin's eyes, and immediately saw that Ni Lin's divine sense C was actually a divine sense C that was filled with lightning. Ni Lin's divine sense C, which was filled with lightning of various colors, was constantly striking at the violently surging ocean waves. So he was using the thunder power. Chen Shang could only see all of this from his opponent's divine sense C. He guessed that Ni Lin did not have much ambition, and was only focused on training his thunder god powers. Hell Devil Emperor was anxious to see Ni Lin's strength. He was not afraid of Ni Lin dying, he was even more excited, because if Ni Lin died, the divine nations would definitely be more furious. Begin. Hell Devil Emperor saw Ni Lin walking in the middle and anxiously shouted. Ni Lin made his move very quickly, he had only raised his hand slightly, and made a quick swatting motion. A flash of lightning appeared in his arm, and he released a lightning whip towards Chen Shang. Chen Shang also did not expect that the other party's casual slaps would be so fast and that his strength was frightening, hitting him in the face with a whip. PFF'd. The moment Chen Zhang's face was struck, he felt an extremely vast force hitting his face, as though it was going to shatter it. When he flew out, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Chen Shang was sent flying. Lying on the ground, there was a whip mark on his face. He did not expect his opponent's attack to be so fast, causing him to be unable to prepare in time. HMPH, he's much weaker than I imagined. Ni Lin snorted in disdain. When he spoke, he immediately waved his hands and lashed out dozens of times at the same time, all of them striking Chen Zhang's body. The moment Chen Shang laid on the ground, he only wanted to get up, but he was immediately pressed down by the incoming pressure. Soon after, he felt his body was struck by several tens of fierce and violent attacks, which made him spit out a large mouthful of blood. The opponent's strength was truly too strong, and coupled with his extremely fast speed, he simply did not have any time to defend. Just a moment ago, Chen Shang had easily killed Fu Tianggao and displayed an extremely terrifying strength. But now, he had been ruthlessly beaten by Nilin from the start. Mu Chenxiang bit her lips, and said softly, "Brother, quickly get up." Chen Shang looked like he had been beaten badly, as he lay on the ground unable to get up. He laughed out loud, full of disdain. This time, Nilin had only whipped Chen Shang twice and Chen Shang had already turned into smoke. This made Nilin frown, because he did not plan to kill Chen Shang this quickly. The moment Chen Shang turned into smoke, Chen Zhang's friends all started to shout, but after seeing that cloud of smoke floating to a certain place and turning into Chen Shang, they all calmed down. "I won't die that easily." Chen Shang wiped off the blood from the corner of his mouth. He had just used the cloud sky sculpture. This was his innate ability and had a very unique power. It could turn his strong body into smoke to avoid attacks. The moment Chen Shang appeared, Nilin had already lashed out at him ruthlessly a few times. However, after hitting his body, the places where Chen Zhang's 4 matches were held would scatter like mist and then reform. Is this an innate ability of the body? Nilin finally left his original position, and at the moment he disappeared, waves of electric current suddenly appeared around Chen Shang, and at the moment, he looked as though he was trapped in a cage made of electric wire. Trapped, Chen Shang struck the electric threads once, and a strong electrical current entered into his body, causing his entire body to tremble. This cage was created by him. Chen Shang was shocked. At the same time, a strong pressure came from all directions, causing the cage to gradually shrink. Goodbye. Nilin suddenly appeared and punched at Chen Shang. When his fist struck the stage, the resulting force tore apart the stage, causing lightning to dance around. Nilin's fist was covered with thick layers of electric threads. Just now, he had used a lightning cage to trap Chen Shang, preventing him from escaping. It's still too early to say such words. Chen Zhang's left hand appeared in an extremely strange manner, and as it emitted flames, it grabbed onto Nilin's fist, which was filled with a violent energy. Nilin was startled. He was extremely clear about the power of his fist. He had used this level of power several times before, and could kill his opponent easily, but this time, his fist was caught, and what made him extremely shocked was, when the thunder power struck Chen Zhang's palm, Chen Shang was actually fine. S left arm condensed with bones. It was incomparably powerful and was not something Nilin could compare to. Even if Nilin's arm also had bones, it was only a single bones, which was simply too far away from Chen Zhang's 2 bones S. Nilin had 6 divine deity S, and the power of his punch could possibly be the power of 4 divine deity S. But the power Chen Shang was currently using, was indeed the 6 divine deity S in his body and the 2 divine deity S on his arms, as well as the 2 energies constantly surging from his right leg. It was equivalent to 10 divine deity S. Among them, 4 were bones S that were still difficult to cultivate. Chen Shang suddenly increased his strength, causing Nilin's fist to clench into a fist. Nilin's face suddenly contorted and warped. The sudden pain was something he was not prepared to endure. Ah! Nilin screamed in pain. His fist was actually crushed by Chen Shang, blood spurting out. Everyone watching felt their scalps go numb. Just what kind of power was this, to be able to forcibly shatter another person's fist? And the frightening power that Nilin unleashed, was actually blocked by one of Chen Zhang's arms. Goodbye. The moment Chen Zhang's voice fell, his right foot had already swept towards Nilin's head. Nilin's head was gone. He fell to the ground, his neck still smoking. Obviously his head was wiped off by the scorching energy. Nilin, who was extremely arrogant a moment ago, was only left with a headless body on the stage. Chapter 2113. The young ranker from Divine Nations was already dead, and even more so died so straightforwardly. He was killed by Chen Shang in a few moves. Previously, he talked about how strong he was when he got on the stage, but now, he was killed by Chen Shang just like that Fu Tianggao. When Hell Devil Emperor saw that the strength that Chen Shang had displayed was even stronger than before, he became even more furious and wished that he could go up on the stage and slap Chen Shang to death now. Previously, he thought that Chen Zhang's strength was still far from his level, but if this continued, it wouldn't be long before Chen Shang surpassed him. From the beginning till the end, his expression had never changed, and even when Nilin was killed, he did not feel anything. It seemed that Nilin's death did not allow him to see Chen Zhang's strength in a new light, and at the moment, he was looking at Chen Shang with the same expression of disdain as before. Dong Li Jun, you are the only one left. Whether or not you can turn the tide depends on you. The Hell Devil Emperor said that if he lost the competition here, not only would he not get the Shen Yuan stone, they would also not be able to cause trouble for a long period of time. Although Dong Lijun did not speak as arrogantly as Ni Lin, he seemed to be even more arrogant. When Hell Devil Emperor was speaking to him, he did not even spare him a glance as he lazily walked onto the stage. In his eyes, the battle was not important, he did not even put him in his eyes. Are all these divine nations people seriously ill? Each one is more arrogant than the last. Long Shui scoffed, however, this guy seems to be quite calm. Although Dong Lijun had a stern and arrogant face, he was still extremely cautious at the moment. Once he got on the stage, he became extremely vigilant. Seeing Dong Lijun being so serious, Chen Shang was also very interested in him, and immediately looked into his eyes. Dong Lijun's divine sense C immediately appeared, and to his surprise, there was nothing inside Dong Lijun's divine sense C. Chen Shang had seen a lot of divine sense C, so even if he saw a lot of strange divine sense C, he would not be surprised. But this time, seeing this divine sense C that was like the ocean in reality, he was very shocked. It was because this divine sense C was very similar to him, and his divine sense C looked the same. It was just that there was an additional island, and his divine soul was also on that island. I can't see it at all. Could it be that he possesses the ability to conceal the true face of the divine sense C? Chen Shang was very suspicious in his heart. If this wasn't the case, then he felt that this Dong Lijun might be the same as him, hiding a mysterious second divine sense C. Dong Lijun did not directly walk to the center of the stage, but walked around Chen Shang. He was actually examining Chen Shang at the bottom of the stage, and then looked at the broken parts on the stage. Although Ni Lin is very arrogant, he possesses a certain level of strength. He himself possesses 6 divine deity and 1 bones, yet he died so easily. Dong Lijun said lightly, "From the chi that you are participating in, you must have used the power of bones." Dong Lijun had finally walked in the middle. This meant that he was already prepared, and even though Hell Devil Emperor was shouting, "Begin," Dong Lijun and Chen Shang didn't move. In other words, you possess 3 bones. Chen Shang frowned. Was different from Ni Lin, although he looked arrogant on the surface, he was actually so cautious in his way of doing things. It seemed like this was his habit, no matter who the opponent was, he would first check the opponent's strength. Dong Lijun was unable to sense Chen Zhang's power from outside, so he was unable to accurately judge Chen Zhang's strength. However, after he walked onto the stage, he had a rough estimate that he would need to pay attention to his opponent. How many bones I have is not important. The important thing is that I can defeat you. Dong Lijun took a deep breath, a gold light suddenly flashed past his eyes, and they instantly turned gold. Chen Shang retreated a few steps back. It was as if Dong Lijun had become a completely different person, the strength of his body seemed to have increased by many times, the pressure he was releasing was already enough to crack the stage, causing the bricks to shatter. What exactly is going on? Chen Shang did not understand how this Dong Lijun in front of him used such a powerful skill to suddenly become so strong. His eyes were still gold, and the light in his eyes made Chen Shang feel an indescribable heat. Be serious. In a flash, he arrived beside Chen Shang and kicked him in the left arm. His leg shone with a golden light, as if it contained an endless amount of power, and when he kicked Chen Zhang's left arm, the extremely fast speed and terrifying power caused space to ripple, and black cracks actually appeared on it. To think that, I can't move. Chen Shang was shocked, he immediately channeled all the energy in his body to move, seeing that the kick was about to come over, Chen Shang finally moved his body slightly to the side, but he was too slow. Even though he was able to move, his left arm was kicked, causing a large chunk of flesh to fly out. It was just a single kick, but it was as if he had been cut by a blade. Chen Shang looked at the shocking wound, and saw that there was actually that kind of golden light on it. Dong Lijun could not hold Chen Shang still for too long. After kicking him, Chen Shang immediately felt his entire body relax, and then distancing himself from Dong Lijun, he began to circulate the alive slain method to repair his injured arm, at the same time using the heavenly alchemy to refine the gold light on his arm, to prevent it from seeping into his body and causing fatal injuries. This is a pure yang divine body, Chen Shang, you must be careful of his pure yang energy. The devil-killing heavenly god suddenly shouted, this power is like a sharp blade, if it enters the body, it can grind the organs into pieces. Chen Shang didn't have the slightest understanding of the pure yang divine body, but after knowing the characteristics of this power, he secretly became nervous. If he had not refined that power just now, then it would have definitely infiltrated into his body and wreaked havoc there. The consequences were unimaginable. This kind of power has a numbing power. It's to prevent one from feeling pain when entering the body, but why is it that the moment it enters the body, the muscles will not tighten and it can directly enter? It's too terrifying. Chen Shang looked at the Dongli Jun who was currently laughing coldly, and his heart still had lingering fear. He looked at the piece of flesh on his arm that was kicked out. It had actually been twisted into a liquid by that power. Chapter 2114. It could be seen that Dongli Jun had only lightly used the blade like pure yang divine power just now. At this time, Chen Shang already had a shadow over that power. He did not want to be hit by that power again, and he would definitely suffer serious injuries. What he did not understand was how the other party was able to stop him just now. It's here again. Just as Chen Shang was pondering about how he was frozen, he once again felt his body unable to move. This is actually caused by the power within my own body. The power within my body is actually controlled by him. Chen Zhang's face was filled with astonishment. He looked at Dongli Jun, who was standing afar, and saw that Dongli Jun was smiling complacently, but he had suddenly disappeared. Chen Shang was panicking. This Dongli Jun had already attacked, and right now he could already feel the terrifying pure yang energy coming from Dongli Jun. He only controls the power within my divine sense C, I cannot use the six realms power inside. Chen Shang immediately controlled the six realms power to return to the divine sense C. Originally, in order to erupt with a very strong power at any moment, six realms power would gather in his limbs and bones. The reason he was frozen was because no one knew what these six realms power were controlled by Dongli Jun. After taking back the six realms power, Chen Zhang's legs slipped and he activated the shrinking step. In the blink of an eye, he was already at the side of the stage, avoiding Dongli Jun's swift punch that was made with the pure yang divine spirit. So close. If my reaction was a bit slower, I wonder what would have happened to me. I wonder if my art of breeding heavenly elephants will be able to stop this guy's pure yang energy. Chen Shang was not clear about this, but he did not dare try. If he was unable to resist, then without the help of a profound WU clothing, his body would be punched bloody holes. Dongli Jun was also a little surprised. He never thought that Chen Shang would actually discover that he could control the mysterious power so quickly. This guy must have some sort of ability to be able to control other people's mysterious power. I never thought that even my own six realms power would be controlled. What kind of ability does this guy possess? No wonder he was so confident in himself. With the pure yang divine power in him and this ability to control other people's mysterious power, even if it were the 9 divine deities against him, they would probably not be able to survive past 30 moves. Chen Shang kept on looking at Dongli Jun's eyes, wanting to clearly see the other party's divine sense see, but he did not reap any benefits. Do you plan to use only the strength of your fleshly body? Dongli Jun taunted while sneering. This means that you have to give up your 6 divine deity and only use your body to fight me. Do you think you have any chance of winning? The 6 divine deity were fundamental. If one did not use the 6 divine deity nor the power of the divine sense C, then their strength would be greatly restricted, and even if Chen Shang had the bones, it would be useless. Let me see how long you can last. His palm exploded with waves of terrifying rays of pure yang energy, completely covering the direction of Chen Shang. Other than running off the stage, Chen Shang could not dodge at all, and using the 6 realms power, that level would immediately be frozen, making it even more dangerous. Got it. Chen Zhang's mind flashed. He immediately used a transformation technique and created many mirrors on the surface of his body, because he only sensed rays of light. They were not very strong, but the light that the pure yang spirit chi turned into was like extremely sharp blades. Just as Chen Shang had expected, all of the light beams shot back. Dongli Jun was very afraid of this light and immediately circulated his body to absorb it into his body, if not his body would also be cut off. Chen Shang took this opportunity to rush forward. When he was using shrinking step, his speed was also extremely fast. In a blink of an eye he was already in front of Dongli Jun, and kicked him out. Boom! Although he did not have the support of the 6 realms power, his strength was still very frightening. He kicked at Dongli Jun's abdomen, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. At the same time that Dongli Jun was kicked, his palm imbued with pure yang energy, swept towards Chen Zhang's neck. Chen Shang raised his head and barely dodged it. A streak of blood appeared on his neck, and his head was almost chopped off. After the two exchanged one move, they both sensed that the other side was in extreme danger. They did not dare to use the second move and retreated. So dangerous. Mu Chenxiang almost shouted out just now. Big bro seems to have his strength restricted. Leng Yulan said. This fellow from the divine nations is not ordinary. With his pure yang divine body, he is definitely highly valued. Even Chen Shang, who possessed such a terrifying mysterious power, is controlled. It can be seen how terrifying this Dong Lijun is. He is definitely a top genius among the divine nations. Yue said. Now let's see if Chen Shang has a way to break that strange divine ability of the other party. From the kick that Chen Shang gave him, Dong Lijun was able to deduce that the strength of Chen Zhang's body was much stronger than he imagined. He was also certain that the leg Chen Shang gave him earlier contained bones, so he understood the terrifying strength of bones very well. Previously, when he was watching from below, he had suspected that Chen Zhang's left and right leg possessed bones. So when he first attacked Chen Zhang's left arm, it was only to test him. So what? Dong Lijun spat out blood in the air, and it looked like nothing had happened. It was true that Chen Zhang's leg did not cause any damage to him, but it was too sudden, and the blood flow in his body was suppressed to his internal organs, which caused him to vomit blood. However, it did not harm him too much. Although Chen Shang was expressionless, he was secretly pleasantly surprised, because when he had attacked earlier, he had been paying attention to Dong Lijun's eyes. Just as Dong Lijun was about to cut his head off, he suddenly saw a divine soul appearing inside Dong Lijun's divine sense sea. Dong Lijun's divine soul was actually hidden within the divine sense sea. As for the divine soul that appeared just now, it was releasing its innate ability, wanting to control his six realms power, just in case, but Chen Shang did not use it, so its ability power was not used on him. Chen Shang wiped away the blood on his neck. Because it was only a very shallow wound, it could quickly recover. The piece of flesh that was kicked out earlier had already grown out. I can only wait for an opportunity. I have to be more careful next. I've angered this guy. Chen Shang saw that Dong Lijun's expression was already equipped with a lot of equipment. Previously, it was cold and heartless, but now it looked to be filled with a tinge of anger. Just like before, he used the shrinking step to approach Dong Lijun. However, he did not attack, but pretended to attack from the front, and then dodged to Dong Lijun's side. He released a bit of six realms power and emitted a bit of qi. When Dong Lijun sensed it, he immediately turned his head and used his strange divine ability to control Chen Zhang's six realms power. At the same time, he flew over. Chapter 2115. This way, he could once again see the opponent's divine soul jumping out of the divine sense sea. He was confirming that the opponent had to release their divine soul out of the divine sense sea in order for them to be able to use their innate ability on him. Now, he was sure that after seeing a divine soul jump out from the other party's divine sense sea, the little bit of six realms power he released had been controlled. Chen Shang did not want to attack Dong Lijun immediately, but to probe him out. Therefore, after he succeeded in doing so, he used the shrinking step to distance himself from Dong Lijun. Dong Lijun's prediction was wrong. Chen Shang did not attack him, causing his two punches to miss. However, the air shock wave that exploded out still carried along an extremely terrifying power as it wreaked havoc on the stage. After the stage was covered by this power, it was like tofu being slashed by a sharp blade. There were many pieces of broken bones jumping about on the stage, which had a smooth surface. It was just like what devil-killing heavenly god said, this pure yang spirit power was as sharp as blades. This guy's power is so terrifying. As long as he releases this power, his body will be like a sharp blade, and he won't be able to attack his body at all. Right now, his body is covered in that kind of light. Wang Jinshi said. Chen Shang is unable to use his mysterious power. Otherwise, that Dong fellow would not be his match. Bai Yuyu said. If Chen Shang had used six realms power, his strength would definitely not be weak, and he would not be forced to such a state by the opponent. Even the experts of the devil-killing heavenly god's side were trembling in fear as they watched the battle. If there was no barrier to protect them from the pure yang divine spirit, once they flew out, they would definitely cause a lot of damage. They couldn't guide Chen Shang either, because this was what was required of them under the contract. We can end it this time. Dong Lijun did not want to drag it out either. He already had some fear towards Chen Shang in his heart, since Chen Shang was a powerful enemy to him after all. He could not help but wish to quickly kill him. Chen Shang immediately released the six realms power, and at the same time, stared at the other party's eyes. This time, he was still able to see the other party's divine soul jump out from the divine sense sea, and release a burst of white light. When he saw the opponent's divine soul jump out, his eyes suddenly flashed with a white light, which was extremely weak, and not obvious at all. However, in a flash, Dong Lijun suddenly stopped, and even cried out in pain, as his divine soul was under attack. The bones in Chen Zhang's eyes also possessed special powers. Just now, he had released all of the power of the bones in his eyes to attack the divine soul in Dong Lijun's divine sense sea. Now, Chen Zhang's divine sense sea that had been suppressed for a long time suddenly erupted into an uproar, the waves surging. The six realms' power was like a torrent as it rushed towards the four flame divine deities inside his divine sense sea. After the flame divine deity had turned it into a flame power, it flowed into his left arm and right leg that possessed the double bone level. Dong Lijun was unable to suppress Chen Zhang's six realms' power. He knew that he would be in danger, and his divine soul being attacked caused him endless pain. However, he still released a very strong pure yang energy to cover his entire body. Chen Zhang's fist did not directly hit his fist, it stopped 5 to 6 inches away from Dong Lijun's face, but it released a strong burst of force, which caused an earth-shaking explosion, and violent fire energy exploded out of his fist like a fiery red spring, rushing towards Dong Lijun's face. Dong Lijun's entire head was hit so hard that it crooked, and all the teeth and bones in his mouth shattered. After the punch, he then kicked Dong Lijun's abdomen, causing the meteor Immortal power to explode and create a bloody hole. The layer of pure yang energy protecting Dong Lijun's body had already been scattered by the shockwave. Chen Zhang's fists continued to violently strike at Dong Lijun's head. At this moment, the other party's entire head was in a miserable state. Hell Devil Emperor saw that Dong Lijun was about to be beaten to death, and anxiously said, "Chen Shang, he is the most important person to divine nations." "So what?" Chen Zhang's fist flashed with fire as he condensed some divine deity and bones. It struck Dong Lijun's chest and turned the upper half of his opponent's body into dust. Chen Shang had almost been killed a few times, so he would definitely not be merciful. Although the other party had not been fully prepared when he got on the stage, it was not his turn now. A pure yang divine body could release such a terrifying pure yang energy, but it was still destroyed by Chen Shang. Dong Lijun only had half of his body remaining. Without even looking, he walked down the fighting stage. The entire place was in complete silence. Even after 3 consecutive rounds, he still looked so energetic, though he had not expended much energy. This showed that Chen Shang was still hiding an extremely terrifying power, but it had not been revealed yet. "Since you have already lost, go ahead and follow the agreement. Withdraw your troops and let the 9 heaven world recover its peace," Chen Shang said. Chen Zhang's strength had already exceeded his expectations, and made him feel that he might not be able to defeat Chen Shang. What made him incredulous was, Chen Shang only had 6 divine deity. Don't be happy too early. Chen Shang has killed 2 outstanding people from the divine nations. He is just waiting for the divine nations to come take revenge. Maybe he will drag you guys into it. The Hell Devil Emperor laughed coldly and flew away with his men. Seeing that the Hell Devil Emperor had left, the spectators on the city wall immediately cheered. "Are you all right?" Devil-killing heavenly god hurried over to Chen Zhang's side. Chen Shang shook his head and smiled, saying, "Another round shouldn't be a problem. That guy just now was really dangerous, and almost died in his hands." The penalty heavenly god said, "That guy should have bones as well. Coupled with his pure yang divine body, that's why he's so powerful. Even if I go up against him, I have to be careful. Otherwise, it'll be very easy for him to kill me. There shouldn't be many pure yang divine bodies, right?" Chen Shang already had a shadow over this kind of power. Luckily it had already been extinguished by him. There are very few 9 heaven worlds, almost none of them. However, I am not sure about that, but Dong Lijun has used his pure yang energy quite well. He is obviously being guided. I'm afraid he still has more. The devil-killing heavenly god said, "Right now, we still have to be careful and watch out for the divine nations. We hope that the internal affairs of the divine nations and the others are getting more and more chaotic." Chen Shang clenched his fists tightly and thought, "Divine nations, I need to become stronger before their internal conflict dies down. Otherwise, when facing such huge beings like them, I don't even have the strength to counterattack." How much time was left for him to prepare? He was not sure. He only knew that he had to work hard to cultivate in the future. Chapter 2116. Hell Devil Emperor had already brought the army and left. At that time, not only did Hell Devil Emperor and Gu Dongchen agree to the contract, the elders who were in charge of the demon army also participated as well, in order to prevent Hell Devil Emperor from being shameless. Chen Shang returned to the 100 Flowers Pavilion and directly went into his room to rest. Chen Shang and the others were not surprised at all that he had won 3 rounds, it was because the Chen Shang they were familiar with was one of them. After this competition, many people who had always thought that they had some power would feel fear in their hearts, because the strength of the divine nations was truly frightening. The people from the 6th divine deity were already so strong, and amongst them, excluding Chen Shang, no one could defeat Ni Lin. Even Gu Dongchen and the others had a complete understanding of the divine nations' strength. The elite experts of the divine nations were truly terrifying. If they were at the same level, it would be difficult for them to defeat him. Hence, the people who came after the match were all very heavy, especially the disciples of the big powers. If Chen Shang was not present today, they would have definitely lost. At this moment, everyone had the same thought as Chen Shang. If the 9 heaven world were to swallow the super god realm in the future, and the internal strife of all the divine nations settle down, they wouldn't have enough strength to do anything and could only allow themselves to be eaten by the divine nations. Although Chen Shang did not consume much energy, and wasn't too tired either, he still felt an exhaustion that came from his mind. That was an enormous pressure. To actually kill Ni Lin and Dong Lijun meant that not long later, the strong power from the divine nations would come looking for him for revenge. If he did not have enough strength to resist, then not only would he be threatened by the life, even the people around him. I want to become stronger. After resting, I'll start my cultivation. Chen Shang closed his eyes, allowing himself to enter a state of meditation. Chen Shang had only rested for a short while. He felt that it would only take around 2 hours, but he was suddenly woken up by Yan Zilan. Chen Shang, something big happened. Shen Xian and the rest were taken away. Once Yan Zilan rushed in, he grabbed Chen Zhang's shoulder and shook it. When Chen Shang heard that Shui Shenxian had something on his mind, he immediately opened his eyes. Who took him away? Chen Shang bellowed. He was extremely furious. Looking at him, it was as if he was prepared to start a massacre. A few people suddenly appeared in his mind, such as the Hell Devil Emperor and the Futian school. Divine nations. Yan Zilan said. Sister Kilian and the rest have already caught up. Those fellows are all very strong. They managed to crack the array formation of our Hundreds of Flowers village, directly charged into the manor of Shenxian and the others, sealed them in a storage magic treasure that can pretend to be human, and then ran away. Do you know what divine nations it is? Chen Shang told himself to calm down as much as possible. This time, the divine nations didn't cause any harm, but directly grabbed him, with a purpose in mind. They directly rushed to the manor Shui Shenxian and the others were in, and took away all their smithing teams. It's the Divine Cauldron Nation. Looking at her expression, it was obvious that she did not bring Shui Shenxian and the others back. Her face was filled with guilt, and behind her were Feng Yuji, Long Huishan, and Zhu Hanru. Shui Shenxian was Chen Zhang's wife, a childhood sweetheart. Their relationship was deep, and now that they were captured, LV Kilian, who had promised Chen Shang many times before to protect Shui Shenxian and the others, felt extremely guilty right now as his head drooped. How did you know it was Divine Cauldron Nation? Chen Shang took a deep breath, trying his best to suppress his emotions. The ones who took them away were several women. When we were chasing them, one of them told me. They are all very strong, and we are not their match at all. However, they did not attack us, but instead told us that if we wanted to save Shenxian and the others, we should go to the Divine Cauldron Nation to look for clues. LV Kilian said, when are you planning to go? I'll go with you. Quote. I'll go too, Zhu Hanru said. I have some understanding of the 9 gods nation, and my strength is not weak either. No need, you and I will go now. Given the current situation, Hundreds of Flowers village cannot miss you too. Chen Shang thought for a while, then said, Kilian, quickly go back and pacify the women in your Hundreds of Flowers village, so as to not cause them to panic. Moreover, this matter must be kept a secret, and you absolutely must not leak it out. Sister Feng, you need to refine more bone-level Dan, and you also need to refine these bone-level Dan according to the person who eats them. After eating the bone-level Dan, it would be best to control the refining time to be around 6 hours, so that the opportunity to condense bones would appear easily. Chen Shang said, when you refine, you can use the compressed method. It is not exposing the medicine aura, but the quality of the bone-level Dan that has been compressed and adjusted. Quote. Feng Yuji nodded his head. I will remember. I will tell Shangyu and the others when I get back. When condensing bones, the body must also be strengthened appropriately. Whether or not Hundreds of Flowers village can be strong in the future will depend on you alchemists. At this time, Chen Shang was extremely serious. The divine nations had already begun to act against them, and their goal was unknown, to the point that they could just casually snatch them away. I have the latest news for you. I will think of a way to notify you guys. First, focus on cultivating and increasing your strength. Chen Shang had originally planned to go to the Earth Core to cultivate, but he had to go to divine nations to do so. Shui Shenxian and the others were also a very important group in the Hundreds of Flowers village. They were mainly responsible for refining and arranging arrays, as well as refining array discs. Previously, Chen Shang relied on the Time Formations array disc to buy himself a lot of time. Chen Shang left 100 Flowers Pavilion and headed towards Heavenly Divine Lord to search for Great Divine Lord. Great Divine Lord was still in the simple wooden house. He seemed to be living a very quiet life, and he looked like he had aged a lot. Great Divine Lord remembered that the last time he had met Chen Shang was only a few days, but this time, he felt that Chen Shang had become much stronger. I've heard about your 3 battles. Amazing. Great Divine Lord laughed. You aren't here specifically to tell me this, are you? If you have something to say, just say it. Quote. What kind of divine nations is he? Chen Shang sighed helplessly. My wife was kidnapped by the Divine Cauldron Nation. Oh. Great Divine Lord frowned. The smile on his face had already disappeared, and his expression became very serious. Are the people who took them away women? Younger 9 girl told you? Chen Shang asked. How did you know, Great Divine Lord? It wasn't Xiaoju who told me, I guessed it. The Great Divine Lord said, all the great divine nations are fighting amongst themselves now because they want to fight for the throne. The 9 Divine Lords all have a tacit agreement to leave together. Furthermore, before leaving, they did not appoint anyone to take over the throne, as it was to allow the most capable children to ascend to the throne. Quote. Chapter 2117. The 9 Divine Lords all had countless imperial harem and groups of women. Because they had inherited the bloodline of the Divine Lord and also because they were the royal family of the divine nations, they had a lot of resources. Thus, there were a lot of powerful princes and princesses. Great Divine Lord continued. Back then, before our 9th Heaven's divine nations was annihilated, I already knew about Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord's secret. This was naturally what my royal father had told us. The reason why it was called Divine Cauldron Nation was because Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord had obtained a very mysterious cauldron. Of course, the cauldron that he showed others to look at is one that he has refined himself. Although it is also very strong, it is still far inferior to the cauldron that he had mysteriously obtained. Quote. Back then, my royal father had a secret battle with him. Back then, in the distant starry sky, other than the 2 of them, no one else knew about this matter. During the battle, because my royal father's strength was too strong, he forced Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord to use the cauldron he obtained from his secret. Quote. And the last, has Heavenly Divine Lord won? Seeing that Great Divine Lord had stopped, Chen Shang anxiously asked. My royal father lost miserably, but it was difficult for even the 9 Furnace Great Emperor to win, so his mysterious cauldron was destroyed by my royal father using his heavenly magic sword. You must know that the heavenly magic sword is my royal father's strongest divine weapon, because when it fought against the divine cauldron, the divine sword was completely destroyed. Back then, it was precisely because of this divine sword that my royal father made the other divine lord apprehensive. Therefore, after the news of his divine sword being destroyed spread out, we, the divine nations of the 9th heaven, had begun to embark on the road of annihilation. Great Divine Lord looked at the sky and sighed. Originally, my royal father and my Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord were good friends, but in order to maintain that attitude, they ended up like this. Chen Shang never thought that there would actually be such a story behind the destruction of divine nations of the 9th heaven. Because the cauldron was destroyed, Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord harbored hatred within his heart and told me about the heavenly magic sword being destroyed, right? Chen Shang asked. That's right, the heavenly magic sword was completely destroyed, but the divine cauldron of his was not completely destroyed. My royal father had also promised to repair it, so my royal father traveled everywhere, even went to the Star Law Divine Realm, searched for materials, and then went into closed-door cultivation day and night just to fix that cauldron. But who would have known that the Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord would reveal the destruction of the heavenly magic sword for some reason? Great Divine Lord said this with a face full of anger. Great Divine Lord, are you sure that this was leaked from the Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord? Chen Shang asked. My royal father said, other than the Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord, no one else knows about this matter. They had previously agreed to keep it a secret. Great Divine Lord suddenly took a deep breath. This is not right. What's wrong? Didn't join in to besiege you guys. Chen Shang was going to the Divine Cauldron Nation right now, so he needed to know a few things about there. I did, but he did not attack. You can see that he doesn't really want to destroy our heavenly divine palace. Could it be that there is another story behind this? It's a pity that I don't have the chance to ask any further. 9 divine lords should be searching for the way of immortality. Great Divine Lord looked at Chen Shang. If you have the chance, investigate me thoroughly. Chen Shang nodded. Get down to business. Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord's cauldron is broken, it has lost its strongest power, and is no different from a piece of trash. But my royal father said before, as long as we repair that small damaged area, the cauldron would recover its original strength. The Great Divine Lord said. Could it be that the reason they took Shenxian away was to repair that cauldron? Chen Shang suddenly exclaimed. Shui Shenxian and the others mastered the refining techniques of the Heavenly Divine Lord. Back then, Chen Shang had told Great Divine Lord that his profound Wu clothing had been repaired by his wife. That was why Great Divine Lord had immediately thought of this when Chen Shang mentioned that his wife had been taken away. They came from the Divine Cauldron Nation, they should have told you. So, your wives are in no danger now. Great Divine Lord patted Chen Zhang's shoulder. Then how did you know they were women, Great Divine Lord? Chen Shang asked. Because I know that the young girl who was chosen by Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord's first wife dotes on this little girl, and this little girl also has outstanding abilities. Forget about her power, she also has good relationships with other people, if not, just based on the fact that she was doted on by the Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord, she would be able to cause many women in the harem to be jealous. Great Divine Lord laughed at himself. Back then, my royal father also had many wives, but in the end, not many could survive. My mother also died in obscurity, while my royal father silently allowed this kind of struggle, and us 9 brothers have always known how to unite, so we were the only ones who could survive to the end. Now that the Great Divine Lord was the last prince of the 9th heaven, and he couldn't return to his country, and his brothers had all died, Chen Shang inexplicably felt that he was very pitiful. Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord's daughter obtained this cauldron, but she doesn't know where it came from. I had seen her play with it before, at that time I also didn't know, but it was my royal father who told me later. Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord was probably the last one to tell her, and she found out from who knows where that the reason why your wives took them away was because they received my royal father's inheritance of artifact forging. The Great Divine Lord said, it's very obvious now. She wants to fight for the Divine Cauldron Nation's throne, but her strength is not enough. If she can repair this cauldron, then the Divine Cauldron Nation's throne would be confirmed. Chen Shang said, regardless of who it is, all the great divine nations cannot avoid a bloodbath. Great Divine Lord nodded his head. This is inevitable, the one who inherits the throne, in order for the throne to be stable, must be rid of his potential enemies. Even if these people are very outstanding, they must be cleansed. If you want to survive in the 9 Divine Lords' imperial harem, you have to depend on the prince or royal daughter, or even some of the Divine Lords' wives. Over time, many forces will be formed, and if you go to the back and stand in the wrong line, you will be purged. He understood this kind of thing very well, because he had also snuck in like this back then. As the Great Divine Lord, the eldest son of the Heavenly Divine Lord, he naturally held a very strong force in the imperial harem, and his enemies were often his blood-related brothers and sisters. Great Divine Lord, what do you know about this daughter of Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord? What kind of person is she? Chen Shang started to worry about Shui Shenxian again. Those who grew up in the harem, which one of them were not vicious and merciless people? This was all honed, otherwise it would have been impossible for him to grow at all. I'm not sure. When I met her, she was very good at hiding her personality. Furthermore, many years have passed in such an environment, so it is not strange that a person's character would undergo such a great change. Great Divine Lord shook his head. Chapter 2118. The relationship between Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord and him was not bad, so it was normal for their children to know each other. Chen Shang felt that the Great Divine Lord must know a lot about the Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord's daughter. I'm going to find her. Chen Shang said, I want to make sure that my wife is safe. To the divine nations. You will first have to go to the super god realm, and then use the super god realm to head there. The white tiger is probably in super god realm, so I'll just let them help you when the time comes. Great Divine Lord took out a shabby-looking stone and said, "This thing might be useful, so I'm not afraid of your jokes." Back then, I tried to pursue her. Chen Shang took the stone, and it seemed as if there were some spirit grain carved on it. He laughed. "Did you not succeed in the end? Is it sad?" Quote. "After all, the reason why I pursued her was only to increase my power. After all, she was also the famous royal daughter of the 10 divine nations back then, and regardless of whether or not she liked it, as a man, he wanted to capture an outstanding woman like her. This was equivalent to displaying his own strength." Great Divine Lord laughed sinisterly. Chen Shang could tell that he was an expert in this field with a single glance. "Although she didn't succeed, we still have a bit of friendship. Hopefully, she still remembers it." Great Divine Lord sighed. "This is something that happened a long time ago and can only be remembered by me now. She should be much stronger than me now, and he will soon disappear from this world with the passage of time. Great Divine Lord, you must find a way to live forever. Don't give up," Chen Shang said. Great Divine Lord smiled calmly. "I don't have any lingering feelings for this world anymore. The biggest reason I want to create this heavenly Divine Lord is to remember this memory. Don't you want to return?" Chen Zhang's voice was a little loud and his emotions stirred. "I do, but time does not spare me. I cannot defeat time." Great Divine Lord sighed. "My 8 brothers have placed all their hopes of restoring their country on me, but I am unable to do so. I'll help you." Chen Shang pressed down on his shoulder and firmly said those 3 words. Although he was not strong at the moment, he felt that he was qualified to say it. "I will tell you about this when I save my wife." Chen Shang stood up. In the process of his growth, he was inextricably linked to both the 9 divine kings and himself. He could not just watch the Great Divine Lord sink into depression like this. Great Divine Lord didn't say anything, he only looked at Chen Shang with a grateful gaze. He was very clear what kind of heavy pressure Chen Shang would have to bear if he said those 2 words. "Do you want to know why I care so much about this woman? I don't love her, I don't like her, I even hate her." Great Divine Lord looked at the stone in Chen Zhang's hand. This stone was obviously a keepsake from him and the Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord's daughter. "Yes." Great Divine Lord laughed at himself. "Because she is a woman that I am unable to take down, I have a deep impression of her. However, I can't remember a single one of the women that threw themselves at me. This is truly ironic." Great Divine Lord. Chen Shang was interrupted by Great Divine Lord raising his hand. "My full name is Zhu Kanghai. Even though I don't like this name, it was given to me by my royal father. Even if I don't like it, I can only accept it." Zhu Kanghai laughed. "You can call me Big Brother Kanghai, but if others are here, you can't call me that." Even Feng Yuji and Zhu Hanru didn't know his name, so it could be seen that he really didn't like it much, so he didn't say it. "I'll send you to the Super God Realm. If you stay there for too long, you should be able to see the 9 heaven world annexing the Super God Realm very quickly." Zhu Kanghai channeled his energy and opened a dimensional door. "Let's go. You must be careful when you head to the Divine Cauldron Nation, and don't expose the taboo magic on his body." Zhu Kanghai said. "I got it," Chen Shang said. "I'm going to find Yue. I'll be more at ease with her by my side." Chen Shang immediately teleported to the Hundreds of Flowers village, found Yue, returned here, and stepped into that spatial gate. In the blink of an eye, Chen Shang had once again arrived at Super God Realm. "Yue, where is the God Beast Mountain?" Chen Shang asked as she looked at Yue, who was in her arms. Yue, who was sleeping soundly, was suddenly grabbed by him, and before she could even understand what was happening, she was already in Super God Realm. What happened? Yuer's nose twitched, as if she had already sensed that this was the Super God Realm. "A lot of things have happened. I want to make a trip to the Divine Nations, so I have to go to the God Beast Mountain. I need the help of White Tiger and the others to send me over." Just as Chen Shang finished speaking, a group of spirit grain S appeared above him. After they quickly gathered in a large formation, an elder fell. "Master." Just as Chen Shang finished shouting, he realized that he had admitted his wrongs. This was not his master Huang Jintian, but her brother, Huang Yantian. The 2 of them looked very similar to each other. They looked exactly the same, and they also had similar personalities. "Uncle," Chen Shang shouted again. Although he was not Huang Jintian, he was still pleasantly surprised. Why are you here? Isn't it easy to find you, kid? I already know where you are by the count of 1. I did have something to talk to you about, but since you were at 9 Heaven World before, I was too lazy to go over. So the moment you appeared here, I came over immediately. Huang Yantian said. It's definitely not a big matter. Otherwise, you wouldn't be waiting for me. Chen Shang curled his lips. You must have waited for me for a long time here. As he spoke till here, Chen Shang finally remembered that the time there was different from here. It shouldn't be long here. It's only for a few days. I was considering whether or not I should go to 9 Heaven World. I didn't expect you to come. Right, what are you doing here? Isn't that a good place to stay? Huang Yantian asked, and then touched Yuei. Right now, he already knew that Yuei was related to him. I'm going to the Divine Cauldron Nation, can you take me there? Senior Master must be stronger than my master, so such a small matter must be really easy for you. Chen Shang laughed. Bullshit, this kind of thing is as easy as breathing to me, isn't it just going to a divine nations? How hard it was. That good-for-nothing brother of mine definitely has to go through a lot of trouble to get there. Huang Yantian immediately snorted, and said proudly. Okay, to go to Divine Cauldron Nation, it will take about 5 hours. Huang Yantian took out a big basin. It looked like a wooden shed for bathing. It was big enough for a few people to sit in. What is this? It doesn't seem that powerful. Chen Shang jumped in. Not powerful, this is the Sky Spill Divine Plate. It looks a bit strange, but it's actually very powerful. Huang Yantian said proudly. Settle down, get ready to go. He then activated the divine disc. Once the disc formed an air shield, it slowly rose up and then flew up into the sky. Chapter 2119. As Chen Shang sat inside the basin-like object, he had the urge to fill it up with water to soak in a bath. Is Divine Cauldron Nation very far from here? With Senior Master's strength, you actually took such a long time to get there. While Chen Shang was speaking, the surroundings became pitch black, and in the distance, there was a huge fireball releasing a strong light. It was the scorching sun, and they were already far away from the ground. A few hours is considered fast. If you go to Divine Cauldron Nation yourself, you might not even make it in a few days. Huang Yantian pointed to a small dot of light in the sky and said, Divine Cauldron Nation is right on top of that huge star. Chen Shang turned his head to look in the direction he was pointing. He simply did not know that he was talking about that star, because there was such a large, densely packed star over there. Senior Master, do you understand Divine Cauldron Nation? Didn't you go to Heavenly Fire Divine Country before? Chen Shang asked. Since Huang Yantian knew how to go to the Divine Cauldron Nation, then he must know more about the Divine Cauldron. I've only been there once, and it's no different from Super God Realm. The only difference is that there are more experts there, and they have a lot of resources. This is better than Super God Realm. Huang Yantian said. Why are you going to the Divine Cauldron Nation? Huang Yantian did not ask before, but when he saw that Chen Shang was in a hurry to go to the Divine Cauldron Nation, he took out his powerful Sky Spill Divine Plate. Now, he was somewhat curious as well. My wife has been taken away. I'm going to save them. Chen Shang said with a face full of helplessness and anger, these fellows are casually taking away my wife, I'm not done with them. So serious. Can you tell me the details? Huang Yantian asked. Do you know who took your wife away? There has to be a direction. The Divine Cauldron Nation is so big, and has many big and small forces. Quote. It's a woman, and should be one of the daughters of the Divine Cauldron Nation's great emperor. I heard that she has quite a decent power and has the chance to fight for the throne of the Divine Cauldron Nation. Chen Shang said. Oh, Huang Yantian frowned. If that's the case, then it's also a useful clue, but you need to be clear, people like them cannot be easily approached. To be able to fight for the position of emperor, all of them are existences close to the pinnacle, the weakest would be the God King. Yuei asked, how many divine deity does the Divine King usually have? Huang Yantian thought for a while, at least 70 divine deity. But don't think that the Divine King is already very strong. In the divine nations, below the Divine Lord, the Divine King is not the strongest. The Divine Kings are usually sealed within the divine nations. There are a total of 2 types of Divine Kings. One is related to the Divine Lord by blood. After reaching a certain level of strength, one can pass the Divine Lord's personal assessment and obtain the title and territory and become the Divine King. The other option was to be loyal to a divine nations once one reached a certain level of strength, and pass the divine nations' examination to become a Divine King. There wasn't much difference between these two types of celestial kings. Generally, they were divided into the first, second, and third ranks. Among them, the first-tier divine king is the strongest, and has to have at least 90 divine deity. Chen Shang never thought that Zhu Kanghai, this great divine lord, would be so powerful that he already possessed 90 divine deity. This was because Zhu Kanghai was a person who was close to the peak of 100 divine deity, but even so, he was still so depressed, and felt that it was impossible to restore his country. Reaching the 90th divine deity is going to be very difficult, and there are many old people who would die at this stage in Star Law divine realm. Uaa replied. Other than that kind of powerful world, wanting to reach the peak of 100 gods level is extremely difficult. Huang Yantian nodded. After 9 divine lords leaves, it will be the world to the divine kings within all the divine nations. Don't we still have great national masters? Chen Shang had heard Zhu Kanghai say before that the ones who had caused the deaths of the 8 divine kings were the great national masters from the divine nations. If the great national master does not participate in the struggle, the ones to obtain the throne must be the descendants of the divine lord. The great national master does not matter who the divine nations is, they will always be loyal to the divine nations. The great national master is also the last guarantee for the latter. Huang Yantian said. For example, if there are some fellows that want to split a divine nations, then the great national master will make a move, because this is already a threat to the life and death of the divine nations. Uaa said, if they can fight for the throne, they must be a first-tier divine king. That's right, only with this kind of strength will he be able to suppress it. After becoming a divine lord, gather the resources from a country and rush to the peak of the 100 gods level. At that time, his position will be even more solid. Huang Yantian said. Of course, the greatest benefit is obtaining the thing left behind by the old divine lord. As for what it is, I don't know, in short, making the successor stronger, suppressing the great national master. Chen Shang never thought that the succession of divine nations would be so complicated, and now, this was the first time these 9 divine nations had experienced such a thing, which coincidentally happened to be the case. As they spoke, they had already passed through many small stars. There weren't any resources on them, and the environment was very vile. Those who possessed resources had long since been taken over. The heavenly fire divine country that I went to previously was terrible. They have already started fighting there. A few level 1 divine kings are leading a large group of people into a chaotic battle. It's very bloody. Huang Yantian looked at Divine Cauldron Nation. According to the information I gathered from Heavenly Fire Divine Country, the situation in Divine Cauldron Nation is the best. Senior Master, if you go to Heavenly Fire Divine Country, you will definitely earn a lot of wealth for the dead. Chen Shang laughed. Huang Yantian laughed. That's right. Just like Huang Jintian, if a huge battle were to break out there, his figure would appear. Several hours later, Chen Shang finally saw a gigantic blue star in front of him. Under the intense sunlight, it reflected a beautiful blue light, which was extremely huge. It's just an Earth stage star. In the Star Law Divine Realm, this star is everywhere. Uaa replied, if I can reach the star realms of Heaven stage in the future, I can compete with Star Law Divine Realm. Huang Yantian laughed and said, this is a new world, we need to take it slow. 9 Heaven World is a very special existence. It is not a star, but a giant floating square continent. When I was in Star Law Divine Realm back then, I had never heard of such a spatial composition. Quote. Chen Shang asked, is an Earth-ranked star not good? Are there many in this place? It's the best in this star field. There are 3 levels of stars that can be inhabited, the Heaven stage stars are the highest, then the Earth stage, and the worst are the profound ranked stars. However, in this kind of place, profound ranked stars are extremely rare. Uaa surveyed her surroundings. Most of them are those kind of dead stars. Chapter 2120. When the Sky Spill Divine Plate approached the Divine Cauldron Star, one could see that a transparent barrier was covering the entire Divine Cauldron Star. This was definitely to prevent the other stars from colliding with it. Huang Yantian controlled his divine compass to fly around the stars for a distance and found an entrance. There was a huge door at the entrance, and at the moment, there were many people lining up on their flying treasures to enter the Divine Cauldron Star. These are all from other planets. Most of them are merchants. Huang Yantian said. Strange, to be able to create a barrier that can cover such a huge star, it shouldn't be too difficult to create a transmission array, right? Chen Shang said. It's very difficult. The distance between the stars is different from when you're on the ground. Look at how big this divine cauldron star is. You will need many years to complete a circle if you were to run at full speed on it. So, can you imagine how far away the divine cauldron star is from the other stars? Even if you look at this divine cauldron star from afar, it will only be a small dot. Yu said. She was a law enforcer from the star law divine realm, and she often traveled between various stars, so she was the most knowledgeable about these things. Huang Yantian smiled and said, the distance between here and the super god realm can be separated by thousands of such huge Earth stage stars and this is the smallest estimate, so you can imagine how far it is. Now, Chen Shang finally understood why Huang Yantian said that his sky spill god plate was so powerful. Chen Shang thought about it and confirmed that it was very powerful. Huang Yantian looked at the people in front of him and couldn't help but shake his head, because he still had to wait for a while. He said, when I was in Heavenly Fire Divine Country, I heard a legend. Chen Shang had previously heard that the relationship between the Heavenly Divine Lord and the Divine Cauldron Supreme Lord was not bad, so he felt that this legend was very believable. Finally, it was Chen Zhang's turn. The guard took a look at the sky spill divine plate and said, 300,000 Shen Yuan stone. Why 300,000? There's only 2 of us. Huang Yantian immediately said in dissatisfaction. This cat counts. Are you going to give it to me? If you don't hurry up and get out, there's still a lot of people waiting in line behind us. The big guy said impatiently. Although Huang Yantian was very unhappy, he still took out 300,000 Shen Yuan stone and gave it to the other party. As long as there are Shen Yuan stones, there won't be any hindrances in entering these divine nations. Yue tenderly snorted. Isn't it just an Earth stage star? The price is so expensive, if it was in Star Law Divine Realm, I wouldn't even be bothered to go. Quote. Forget it, isn't it just a little Shen Yuan stone? Huang Yantian caressed Yue, chuckling. Senior Master, you're so much more generous than Master. That guy is always calculating. Chen Shang said, he did not think that Huang Yantian was actually not as stingy as him. Huang Yantian laughed proudly. That guy is still the same, I wonder how he is now. Landing on the ground, Huang Yantian brought Chen Shang to the nearest city. After entering the city gates, he paid the 20,000 Shen Yuan stone, and then walked towards the transmission array. To the Divine Tripod Imperial City. The transfer fee for the 2 of you to enter the city would total to 400,000, and this cat would cost 100,000, a total of 500,000. The old man looked at Yue, who was in Chen Zhang's embrace, and shouted. Huang Yantian took out 500,000 Shen Yuan stone, and only after handing them over to the old man was he allowed to step into the transmission array. Chen Shang never thought that Shen Yuan stone would be exhausted so quickly in this kind of place. They had only just arrived and Huang Yantian had already used 800,000. Huang Yantian seemed to be already used to it, so he didn't complain about it. However, Yue was very unhappy, as she saw it, this kind of crappy place basically did not require any fees. When the transmission array opened, in the blink of an eye, Chen Shang and the others had already arrived at the 9 Tripod Imperial City. After arriving at the place, Chen Shang finally understood how peaceful it was and that the other divine nations had all gotten into an uproar. That was why all the merchants of the other divine nations had come here, because it was now peaceful in the Divine Cauldron Nation. However, an extremely tense atmosphere enveloped the entire Divine Tripod City. Everyone here was very clear that battles were unavoidable. They only hoped that when fighting for the throne, it wouldn't bring about too much of a disaster. Chen Shang came here to save others, so he did not have the time to wander around. Kid, can you do it by yourself? If it's possible, I won't accompany you any longer. After you're done with this matter, come find me again. I have some things to tell you. Huang Yantian passed Chen Shang a piece of communication jade symbol paper. Yes, Martial Uncle, I'm very grateful that you brought me here. You have your own matters to attend to, so go and busy yourself first. Chen Shang said. Huang Yantian patted Chen Zhang's shoulder, then stepped into the transmission array and left. He was still in the Divine Cauldron Star, looks like he had other things to do here. As Chen Shang walked out of the transmitting square, he looked at the bustling streets and couldn't help but sigh. This place was indeed stronger than the super god realm in the 9 heaven world. He swept his eyes across the entrance of the transmitting square and found a few youths. These youths were usually there as guides to guide the people who had just arrived and provide them with some information about the Divine Tripod Imperial City. Just then, a skinny boy noticed him and Chen Shang immediately waved at him. Just as that skinny boy was about to run over, a few youths near him ran over like a swarm of bees, running in front of him. Seeing that his business had been snatched away, the skinny boy could only hang his head in disappointment and return to his original spot. Chen Shang did not pay attention to the group of youths who came first, but instead walked towards the skinny and weak youth. He could tell that even though this youth looked small and skinny, he was still extremely quick-witted, otherwise, he would not have discovered that he needed a guide the first thing. "How much will it cost?" Chen Shang asked after walking over. Seeing Chen Shang walking over and even asking for the price, the skinny young man immediately stood up and spoke with strength, 10 Shen Yuan stone as a day, 90 in 10 days. "Okay, deal." Chen Shang smiled at him slightly. "I am Ah Dong, how many days do you need me to take for?" The teenager politely smiled back. When the other teenagers saw this, they immediately ran over. One of them was a bit stronger and dressed well, and one of them said, "Ah Dong, what are you doing here? You don't know anything about Divine Tripod Imperial City, get lost quickly, don't embarrass yourself here, the fee is so low, at least 100 Shen Yuan stone a day, do you want others to think that the guides of our Divine Tripod City are all cheap?" This youth scolded at Ah Dong, and just as he was about to slap Ah Dong dodged immediately. His reaction was extremely fast. Chen Shang moved very quickly, grabbing onto the youth's wrist, and said with a cold face, "Don't go too far, what if I want Ah Dong to be my guide? I give him 1,000 Shen Yuan stone a day, what can you do about it?" Quote,